Um, I actually like that angle a little bit better from DeSantis. He should maybe focus in and accentuate that to the exclusion of his secondary and tertiary arguments. That's a better play than going after Trump directly. Yeah, the polls say that Trump could be Biden, I could be Biden, Nikki Haley could be Biden. But the difference between me and Trump, if you don't trust Haley, which most Republicans don't, conservatives don't, the choice is, do you want the election to be a referendum on our candidate or their candidate? Their failed president. Our failed president, their failed candidate. Uh, yeah, I think that's a better play than saying I can win and Trump can't, because you don't really have the numbers to back that up. But the whole prospect of saying it's not that Trump can't win, but yeah, do we want it to be wall to wall about Trump, or do we want it to be more wall to wall about Biden? Now, of course, I would hasten to add that it'll be about significantly be about whoever the Republican nominee is, because the D.C. press corps is politically savvy enough and amoral enough to focus in on a DeSantis or even a Haley if they were the nominee and try to pick them apart on behalf of Biden, of course. But the intensity in terms of the referendum and in the public mind with a former president that is very polarizing, that may be an argument that he can get some voters to reflect upon, and maybe in the closing weeks of the race leading into Iowa, maybe he can close the gap and make it interesting. I don't think DeSantis has to win, but he certainly has to surprise in terms of how close he makes the race. And with the ground game in Iowa, in a relatively small electorate, particularly the subset of Republicans in Iowa who actually caucus, I mean, it's possible.
I don't know. When I was in Iowa, Dan, all I saw were Trump signs. But also, when I turned on the TV, I mean, local news are flooded with campaign ads. It was just DeSantis beating up on Nikki Haley beating up on DeSantis. Nobody was attacking Trump.
Well, that is a problem that
weird.
each of them have, is they're both trying to jockey for second position to then train their focus on Trump, and that only serves Trump's interest. Now, by contrast, while Dean Phillips was decrying fascism in his he's comparing the Democrats in Tallahassee to Tehran. While he's doing that, Trump had this to say in Cedar Rapids over the weekend.
Because the fact is, Americans don't like fascists. We don't like communists. We don't like tyrants. We don't like corrupt politicians like Joe Biden. Without question, this is the worst president, most corrupt.
Yeah, no fascists, no tyrants, and no Bidens. That's a bumper sticker. Also, Trump rolled out a fun little ad.
Oh, no. What?
And this is the advantage that Trump has, and maybe why, you can understand him being a little prickly. He provided political support to DeSantis. He provided Nikki Haley with a job that increased her status. He previously enjoyed the unyielding praise of governors like Iowa's Kim Reynolds, which he reminded everybody about in this new ad.
On behalf of all Iowans, I want to say thank you. Thank you for cutting taxes for hardworking Iowans, for eliminating senseless regulations that stifled innovation and jobs. What I love about this president and this administration is it is an administration of action and outcomes, and the list is long. Lower taxes, lower unemployment, safer borders, for standing strong with Justice Kavanaugh and appointing conservative judges to the court. Our farmers thank you, Iowans thank you, and we are grateful. Promises made, promises kept. The Midwest has a partner in the White House with President Donald Trump. A leader, a fighter, a president who puts America and Americans first.
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message.
I bet you did. I bet you approved that message.
My God, that's good.
Yeah. So, maybe that waters down Kim Reynolds' endorsement of DeSantis a bit. Bill and Glen Ellen.
Yeah, I was wondering if you guys could tell us what is the absolute point of no return for Biden being the Democrat nominee, and what exactly would happen if, at that point, something happens to Biden? I mean, what is the magic they have to do to get Newsom into the slot?
Well, I mean, thanks for the call, Bill. You've got, if something happened like God interceded, not that we wish that to happen, but I mean, through these contingencies, life is precarious. They have the ability. They have a convention. After the convention, if there were a health issue, they have the ability to appoint. I mean, same as Republicans. But all of this imagining of machinations to somehow sideline Biden absent a health issue is just that, imagining. George in Naperville.
Yes, and with regard to Biden on the ballot, it's like that Greek restaurant in Saturday Night Live. No Coke, Pepsi.
All right, thanks, George. Coming up at 5:38. Been a lot of sort of online chatter about some of these black residents of Chicago pushing back against the Democrats over their sanctuary city policy. But is it sound and fury signifying not very much? 5:38.
But now let's head into the newsroom. Say good Monday morning to Mike Scott.
35 degrees in Chicago, 5:32. An Israeli official says what his country's military has had to do against Hamas is unprecedented in world history.
I don't think any other country, including the United States, I don't know if you ever faced a situation like this, would take such great care. So we agree with the United States that we want to do everything we can to reduce civilian casualties and to ramp up humanitarian assistance, and we'll continue to do that as we prosecute this war.
Speaking on ABC's This Week, Israeli Minister of Strategic Affairs Ron Dermer stressing that Israel is avoiding harming Palestinian civilians while fighting enemies on its border. Government health bureaucrats say the U.S. should experience a more typical flu and virus season this year.
We're probably looking at a more typical winter pathogen season than what we've seen in past years.
Speaking on CBS's Face the Nation, former FDA Commissioner Scott Gottlieb says the level of RSV and flu is abating compared to numbers in past years. Alaska Airlines set to acquire Hawaiian Airlines. It's a $1.9 billion deal and will take up to 18 months to be completed if it gets final approval from federal regulators. Headquarters will be in Seattle, Honolulu, their key hub. Powerball and Mega Millions jackpots have reached a combined $789 million. Top prize up for grabs tonight in the Powerball drawing is $412 million. Chicago police are investigating a blaze at the historic Swift Mansion in Bronzeville as arson. Officials say the blaze broke out yesterday on the third floor of the building in the 4500 block of South Michigan Avenue.
A lot of fire up in the attic, so there was extensive salvage and overhaul. It escalated to a still in box alarm, so we had approximately 55 fire personnel on scene with EMS.
Fire Captain John Giordano. The fire was put out before firefighters were called to the address again in the afternoon when flames rekindled. Owner James Otis believes he knows the cause. The historic home was built in 1892 and added to the National Register of Historic Places in 1978. An investigation is underway after police shot and killed a man in Elk Grove Village over the weekend. Jack Murray was leaving a home Friday in the 200 block of Fern Drive holding a knife when he deliberately confronted officers in a nearby yard. Officers then shot Murray, who died nearby at a hospital. Murray's family has hired a law firm. The news is a service of the AM 560 Advantage, and we'll have a check of the roads in 2 minutes on AM 560.
Get ready for a musical journey like no other when the Trans-Siberian Orchestra returns to Chicago this Christmas season on their spectacular annual holiday tour. And AM 560 is giving away tickets. Enter today at 560theanswer.com/Christmas. Don't miss the Trans-Siberian Orchestra at the All-State Arena. Go to 560theanswer.com/Christmas.
Amy Jacobson and Dan Proft here, and we want to tell you about our 2023 Food for the Poor campaign.
As many of you already know, Food for the Poor is a nonprofit, faith-based organization that provides food, water, medicine, clothing, and life-saving supplies directly to local partners in Latin America and the Caribbean.
Right now, millions of families and children are experiencing the devastating effects of economic decline and rising food prices.
For many, the cost of food has simply become prohibitive, leading to sickness and starvation.
The only thing between these families and starvation is Food for the Poor and their partners who are providing life-saving food relief on the ground. But in order to get the food to those who need it, Food for the Poor needs your help. Thanks to a generous match, your one-time gift of just $80 can provide life-saving food for 2 children for an entire year.
To make that gift, just call 844-862-4673.
Visit 560theanswer.com/foodforthepoor or just click on the Give Life banner, and thank you so much for your generosity.
If you're loaded with debt, you need to call Team Hochberg, your trusted local lender. 70% of homeowners have mortgage rates below 4%. While your mortgage rate is super sexy, the minimum monthly payments on all your maxed out credit cards, student loans, and other debt is stressing you out and financially crushing your family. I want to help you, but you have to understand, it's not about the rate, it's about the monthly payment. It's not about the rate, it's about the monthly payment. If you'd like a free consultation to see if you can refinance and consolidate your debt and reduce your monthly payments, call 855-56-DAVID or visit 56david.com. Team Hochberg has helped thousands of radio listeners consolidate their debt, eliminate their stress, and substantially reduce their monthly payments, but we can't help if you don't call 855-56-DAVID or visit 56david.com. That number again is 855-563-2843 or visit 56david.com. Lower.com, equal housing lender, NMLS 1124061.
You've heard me talk about my love of coffee over and over again. I'm here to tell you I have discovered one of the best brews I've ever tasted and a company that I cannot wait to support. I'm here to tell you about Bone Frog Coffee. The Bone Frog is a sacred symbol in the SEAL teams. It honors those that gave the ultimate sacrifice, their lives. Bone Frog was founded by Tim Crook Shank, a former Navy SEAL and 25-year Navy veteran. Bone Frog honors the fallen, those who gave everything for our freedoms and our American way of life, by giving 10% of all the proceeds to benefit many of the U.S. Navy SEAL foundations. Here's what I need you to do. Go to bonefrogcoffee.com/liberty. Get 10% off your first order. You will also get 15% off Bone Frog Coffee subscriptions. Just enter Liberty at checkout. Go to bonefrogcoffee.com/liberty. That's bonefrogcoffee.com/liberty. Taste one of the best brews you ever tasted. 10% of the proceeds go to benefit the Navy SEALs. You'll feel good. It's an American company. Go to bonefrogcoffee.com/liberty.
The holiday season is right around the corner. Give the gift that's hard to wrap, but easy to give. Give them a Steel. Visit your local Steel dealer or go to steelusa.com/gift guide.
539 on AM 560, The Answer. Traffic and service of the AM 560 store. T-shirts, hoodies, and more from your favorite AM 560 brands. Oh, come on. Who wouldn't want a Proft University hoodie stuffed in your stocking? 560theanswer.com/store. Magnificent Mile downtown. Police activity just occurred. Michigan and Superior. Reports of an attempted major smash and grab, car trying to go into the building. May have been unsuccessful, we're not sure, but we do know that the intersection is all tied up with police activity. Bishop Ford inbound Cottage Grove in the Dan Ryan, very slow traffic. Also delays on the Kennedy inbound between Foster and Montrose. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Continued clouds, gray skies, a few breaks of sunshine by the afternoon, a high near 40. Cloudy rain, but a lot of the area will see snow according to AccuWeather, a low of 32. And tomorrow, a bit of snow and rain as well, a high of 40. Currently 35 at O'Hare, 35 Midway, 35 in Aurora. And your next news update is at 6. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. So last week at City Hall, Mark Carter and some other black residents of Chicago held a little impromptu press conference in which they tried to send a message to the Democrat Socialist power structure in Chicago. Mark Carter he's been around for a while. He's sort of a longtime advocate for ex-offender support for ex-offenders and reintegrating them into the community. Here's sort of the pertinent parts, at least from my perspective, of what you heard from Mark Carter and his allies. First, a black female resident of Chicago who spoke at this thing that Carter organized.
City of Chicago and any Republican candidate in the city of Chicago, now is your time, because we are done with the Democratic Party. Brandon Johnson, Governor Pritzker, and President Biden have showed us what they think about the black community all over this country. And so we're standing here today to say, okay, if that's what it is, we with it. We don't have to support the Democratic Party. Right. We don't have to continue to support people who are not going to support us. And the Democratic Party here in this city, in this state, and in this country is not supporting us. You got the Republicans on one side and the Democrats on the other side. Guess what? They're part of the same bird. That's right. So it doesn't matter anymore which party we go with. But I'll tell you this, I'd rather deal with the snake that's outfitting himself of the Republican Party than the snake that's covered up in the Democratic Party. That's right. We're not going to continue to stand for this. We're not going to continue to allow our state representatives, our congressmen, our aldermen, and our mayor to let us know that we don't matter.
Mark Carter then took to the microphone and added this.
How do you take a new group of people that have paid no taxes, can't vote, and you put them in front of the voters? I'm not going to pay them no damn taxes. And so we say this to you, Mayor, Governor, President. If you think that they're that powerful that you have to acquiesce and answer to them over us, then you tell them to vote for you in these next elections. You tell them to support your Democratic National Convention. And we're going to show you how we feel about the Democratic National Convention. Turn it up. Thank you. If you think you're going to have a peaceful Democratic National Convention in the city of Chicago while our people are starving, stay tuned. Stay tuned.
Really? 1968 redux over migrant policy. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. 64636DA, turnkey.pro text line.
I've been saying this for a while. I think this is the issue that may be turning black Democratic voters into possibly Republicans. Because I also said, too, during that press conference that they wanted to meet with Republicans, Illinois Republicans, and I kind of chuckled.
Yeah, go ahead and try and find one.
Yeah, well, if you find one, let us know. But also they wanted to meet with President Trump. I mean, President Trump comes out and says, I am going to ship these people. I'm going to put them on planes and take them back to their respective countries. Are you kidding me? He'll get the Hispanic vote in Chicago. He'll get the black vote in Chicago. I think they're still part. I mean, as they're building Brighton Park, as the sun's coming up here and they start, finishing construction on Brighton Park, they're out there protesting continually. They are upset. I think this could be
the they
a possible
number
issue.
The they numbers in the dozens, hundreds, thousands.
Thousands. I mean, on and off. People rotate in shifts.
I mean, I know it's cold out and whatnot, but even before the weather turned, I don't want to rain on the parade here. You want to encourage people to break from their community's orthodoxy. I don't know why. The whole identifying as the black community and the Latino community and all these communities still mystifies me. I don't identify. I don't think about my place in the Irish-Danish community. I mean, it's just. But this is the identitarian trap that most people can't break out of, particularly if you're coming from the left. You just can't break out of the identitarian trap, which is when you're not talking about Chicago taxpayers, Chicago residents, the law-abiding Chicago residents, regardless of color, and their interests. I just not persuaded that there's a real shift coming. I mean, this is very much, to me, like what we talked about last week, that co-founder of Black Lives Matter in Rhode Island, who has come out for Trump basically because of the immigration policy as well. So I want to believe there's a change happening. I've seen this not only before, but for a long time. I mean, and I give black residents of Chicago and other metropolitan areas where there is one-party rule, and states like Illinois where there's one-party rule for that matter, and they break from the orthodoxy within their neighborhoods and say, I'm at minimum I'm abandoning the Democrat Party, and then I'm just going to be a free agent and we'll make a decision candidate by candidate. I give them a lot of credit because they take a lot of heat. So I'm not dismissing them, and I appreciate them speaking truth to power, to borrow a favorite phrase. But do I think it represents some sort of paradigm change afoot? I don't.
Got a text message. Dan and Amy, the Democrats are going to pay those agitators off before the convention gets here.
Well, and here's the response from Robert Peters. Robert Peters is a state senator. Robert Peters is the chairman of the Black Caucus in the state Senate. Robert Peters replaced Kwame Raoul, who replaced Barack Obama, representing, the Hyde Park area.
Right. He wants to be Barack.
Chicago must remain a sanctuary city because that's who we are.
What, are we not going to be a welcoming city?
Could you imagine?
Remember that lady?
If we were not considered a welcoming city? Could you imagine the shame? No one. Just a couple of riffs from this op-ed. Mm-hmm. Let me start. This is Senator Robert Peters. So, again, here's the chairman of the Black Caucus in the state Senate. Let me start by saying something other politicians won't say. No one knows what to do in the face of the current migrant crisis. We're making good progress thanks to city and state funding commitments, but we need federal assistance. Short of that, the crisis will continue. However, there is a cohort of strange bedfellows in the city council proposing a different tack, repealing Chicago's Welcoming City Ordinance, also known as our Sanctuary City Ordinance. The Welcoming City Ordinance is the product of Mayor Harold Washington's legacy and has nothing to do with asylum seekers. It specifically pertains to the right of undocumented residents and protection from being hunted by ICE. Hunted. Like the police hunt somebody who committed a crime? Is that how we refer to it? I mean, yeah, they do manhunt for this or that. But I mean, this is intended to connote unfairness, right? You're being hunted like an animal. No, you have law enforcement officers trying to enforce the law. I thought that's what we wanted. Anyway, being a sanctuary city is a demonstration of Chicago's principles. We welcome immigrants and respect their humanity. All the false equivalences here. And, of course, the classic, because this guy is not a particularly interesting thinker, it's just the classic riff on this stuff. It's the classic disingenuous demagoguery, as if there's any other kind, of not distinguishing between legal and illegal and ascribing to your opponent a racist disposition, even though most of your opponents would say, I'm for legal immigration. I'm fine with the rich diversity of people and their backgrounds that comprise Chicago, but there's a process. It's very interesting for Senator Peters, the processes that you adhere to under color of law, and then the process you dismiss when the law is inconvenient to your political ideology. That could be the conversation if we had an opposition party in the state, but we don't.
312-642-5600. Turnkey.pro. Answer line 64636. Type in DA, then a quick comment.
And just the last line of this is just a perfect illustration. A perfect illustration of what I'm talking about. The disingenuousness of the position of these open borders, pro-lawlessness politicians. Chicago and Illinois sit at the crossroads of America, writes Senator Peters. We're the land of Lincoln and Barack Hussein Obama, two men who weren't born in our state but came here to change the world. That's what we should be displaying to the world next year. So Abraham Lincoln came from Kentucky and Barack Obama came from Hawaii. You understand the distinction. But this is how craven and dishonest these individuals are. But they feel completely comfortable exhibiting those traits, don't they? And what does that say about the political environment? What does that say about their fear that some revolt is brewing, particularly in their backyard with their relied upon constituents? I don't know. I'm a skeptical.
But don't you think the black voters are sick and tired of being taken for granted by
No.
Democrats?
Nope,
They're
I
not
don't.
sick. This isn't enough.
Watching
their tax dollars go to help people when they want those tax dollars themselves.
I think a percentage of them are.
Not
it's not
enough to move the needle.
That's what I think.
Okay.
Ron, Southside.
Morning, Dan. Bingo. You hit it right. You hit it right on the head. It's just slight discomfort right now. That's all you're hearing. No, it's not going to move the needle at all. I've seen this. Look here. I'm 66 years old. I've seen this crap with the Democrat Party, and you will get a few. They motives may be sincere. And people agitate, but to really think it's going to be, I've seen too many issues. Look at you. Look how the black people's children are not being educated. Look at the crime.
Yeah.
So this is what so all of a sudden, oops, okay, this is it. When I was young, look, I used to see 3-car Monty on the bus, pee under the cup. So all I'm saying, guys, I can't be fooled. So, you're right, Amy, and I would like to feel that way. And I listen, and involved with talk radio, like, and with this thing, and I hear the sentiment. But if I was, and first of all, because all I can say, when black people came out and voted for Brandon Johnson, that let me know where their thinking is. So, Dan, I agree with you 100%. It's not going to make a difference at all. You all have a great day.
Thanks for the call, Ron. The only thing I would say in defense of the optimism, a defense of Amy's optimism, for example, is it's hard to know what is possible when the environment isn't providing a landing spot for disaffected black Democrats. So I'm just speaking about Chicago because different states and big cities are different in this respect, like the existence of a larger Republican Party in their state and efforts being made at the city level. But when there's a complete absence of an alternative, or the alternative represents sort of the men and women of always that have been measured and found wanting, like Paul Vallis, then you're not really encouraging those that may be questioning to make a different decision. So there is that. In the absence of alternative, people throw up their hands and say, there's nothing I can do. I'm not in control of this thing. These are the people in charge. There's no prospect that that's going to change, so I better fall in line. Michael, Southside.
Good morning, Dan. Morning, Amy. Thank you both for taking my call. There's a lot of smoke out there, but there's really not a lot of fire. Apart from a few black aldermen, you don't really see any prominent black leaders or black organizations complaining about the migrants. And the other thing worth mentioning too is that the once contracts start getting passed out related to dealing with the migrants, you got to figure some of that money is going to flow into black hands, and that's going to that's more likely to keep black leaders and black organizations quiet. So, no, lots of smoke. No.
Thanks for the call, Michael. Yeah, I mean, it's not so much I would expect black these sort of officially licensed subsidiaries of the Democrat Party run by, black nonprofit leaders or religious leaders or political leaders or former political leaders. You don't expect them. They're completely aligned. So they're not going to flip. But the question is there some revolt by the hoi polloi below the fold that we're not properly calibrating? And I don't think there is. Tina and Joliet.
Good morning.
Morning.
So I have a little bit different perspective. My buddy Devin Jones is with the Southside GOP, black guy. He's been door knocking like crazy. And he called me yesterday and said, I think what we're hearing about the black community being ready to leave the Democratic Party is real. He said, I have never had so many people willing to sign my petition. He's a Republican. He's a proud conservative. And he said it's real. He has always said what you guys just said, though. The community isn't presented with an alternative to the Democratic Party. Where are the Republicans? They're not showing up in the neighborhoods. And the folks that live there, at Thanksgiving, they know the Democrats are passing out turkeys. During Christmas, they're getting winter coats. There's always a face and a presence from the Democratic Party in these communities. We've got to do a better job as conservatives reaching out and being there, being in our neighborhoods and in our communities. And folks, they want change. I truly believe that.
Thanks for the call, Tina. The only thing is, you have to believe that there's some organization or organizations that have the capacity to incorporate those who want to come over and support them, maybe level them up to candidates for office and finance them. So that infrastructure just doesn't exist. So it's not just like, Tina's a good conservative and she's working with Devin and they're trying to advance the flag. But then, so you got to have candidates and you got to have resources and you got to have the ability to run effective campaigns. Good candidates, by the way. And David, St. Charles.
Hi, Dan. Thank you for taking my call. I'd like to chime in with the woman that just called, and Devin is doing a lot of hard work with Latasha Fields, who was running for Lieutenant Governor with Max Solomon. So the Chicago GOP, Brian and Evan Castle and Steve Bolton are doing a lot to trying to engage in community engagement. I'm out in Kane County. The Kane County GOP is getting subcommittees together for communications, community engagement, and we are working. The problem is, and we're seeing the needle. I wanted to talk about the needle being moved. Trump got 8% of the black vote in 2016, and then in 2020 it was 13. Now there are a lot of black organizations like Blacks for Trump, and there's also Latinos for Trump.
Yeah.
You see a lot of this organizing in social media.
David, we got to go. We got to go. Thanks for the call. Kane County can't even hold their Republican legislators like Keith Wheeler. So again, I'm hopeful. I mean, I appreciate what people are doing, but I can't say that I'm hopeful, actually.
Coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Why does John Kerry still have that long face? It's because of coal. 606.
Today, clouds and breaks of sun, a high of 40 degrees at 6 a.m. WIND Chicago.
The U.S. battles on land and at sea. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. A drone strike kills 5 Iranian-backed militants in Iraq. A U.S. defense official says they were seen preparing an attack that was suspected to be targeting American forces, who've already been targeted more than 70 times in recent weeks in Iraq and Syria. Now to what happened off the coast.
The USS Carney came to the defense of 3 commercial vessels under drone attack in the Red Sea. The ships were being fired on by Houthi militia based in Yemen but backed by Iran. A Houthi spokesperson claims they attacked Israeli-linked ships, but Israel's military insists there is no connection.
That's Fox's Jonathan Savage. Israel is going after Hamas in every part of Gaza now.
They say they targeted 200 different sites overnight, bringing the total number of strikes against Gaza since this war began 59 days ago to more than 10,000.
Fox's Trey Inks near the border.
We do know the heavy air campaign inside Gaza is spiking the death toll there. Health authorities at the Palestinian-controlled health ministry say more than 700 people were killed in a 24-hour period over the weekend.
And they say there are more than 15,000 Palestinians killed since Hamas's terror attack sparked Israel's war. Israel keeps urging civilians to evacuate areas where fighting is intense. There's a big case at the Supreme Court today on a settlement related to a company blamed in the opioid crisis of drug overdoses and deaths.
At issue are company bankruptcy protections for the family who ran Purdue Pharma during the opioid crisis. Even though the U.S. government was okay with the bankruptcy plan under President Trump's administration, the Justice Department under President Biden is questioning the deal, which gave Sackler family members bankruptcy protection, even though they themselves haven't filed for bankruptcy.
Fox's Jessica Rosenthal. 2 New York City police officers are recovering after being stabbed, confronting a man who had murdered 4 members of his family in Queens. 2 of them were kids. An officer shot and killed the killer. America's listening to Fox News.
35 degrees in Chicago. It is 6:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. Chicago police are investigating a fire at the historic Swift Mansion in Bronzeville. And they're doing so as arson. Officials say the blaze broke out yesterday on the 3rd floor of that building in the 4500 block of South Michigan Avenue.
A lot of fire up in the attic, so there was extensive salvage and overhaul. It escalated to a still in box alarm. So we had approximately 55 fire personnel on scene with EMS.
Fire Captain John Giordano. The fire was put out before firefighters were called again to the address after flames rekindled and were seen coming through the roof. James Otis, the owner, believes he knows the cause.
We believe somebody did it intentionally because they were upset with having to leave because we're finna renovate.
The historic home was built in 1892. Construction continues on a winterized tent camp for migrants in Chicago's Brighton Park neighborhood, despite reports showing the site is contaminated. An emergency hearing will be held today for a pending lawsuit. A judge may decide if work at the site may continue or will be halted. A Chicago man is charged in the shooting of his infant daughter at a McDonald's parking lot in the East Garfield Park neighborhood last week. Kenneth Mosby was arrested on charges of attempted first-degree murder and aggravated battery with discharge of a firearm. One man is dead following a shooting over the weekend at a hotel in Oakbrook Terrace. Police say shots were fired Saturday night at the Hilton Chicago Oakbrook Suites Hotel. Officers found Calvin Truitt with gunshot wounds before he died at a nearby hospital. Blackhawks gave up 3 goals in the first in a 4-1 loss to the Wild at the Xcel Energy Center in the Twin Cities. Chicago hosts Nashville tomorrow night. Bulls control the second half in a 124-118 weekend win over New Orleans. They host Charlotte on Wednesday. Bears back at it, prepping for the Lions Sunday at Soldier Field. And the Northwestern Wildcats did it again, dumping number 1 Purdue. It's for giving the Boilermakers their first loss of the season, 92-88 over the weekend in overtime. The news, a service of Townstone Financial. Should you buy a new home? Can you afford it? Can you pay off your credit cards using your home? Townstone.com has the answers at 312-896-2110. Illinois Mortgage Licensee 6629 NMLS 136639. And a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Get ready for a musical journey like no other when the Trans-Siberian Orchestra returns to Chicago this Christmas season on their spectacular annual holiday tour. And AM 560 is giving away tickets. Enter today at 560theanswer.com/Christmas. Don't miss the Trans-Siberian Orchestra at the Allstate Arena. Go to 560theanswer.com/Christmas.
This is Hugh Hewitt for townhall.com. The reservoir of sympathy for Israel in the wake of the October 7th attack has turned out to be shockingly shallow. We are seeing gleeful bloodlust in the street of capital cities, among students at elite universities. Murderers celebrated instead of condemned. What has happened to our world? Israelis have no illusions about what is intended by the now commonplace chant, "From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free." The message is simple in that phrase: erase the Jews. I'm hardly alone in believing it is a call for genocide, for another Holocaust. Do you wonder at how ferociously Israel defends itself? Consider how the United States and Britain responded when the Axis powers sought to destroy them in World War II. America and her allies' aim was the enemy's unconditional surrender, or its leader's death and the destruction of their war machine. Total war. And America succeeded, as will Israel, where never again still means never again.
With the holidays upon us, the increase in traveling, shopping, and connecting online also heightens the need to protect your identity and finances with LifeLock. Identity thieves see this time of year as an opportunity to drain your accounts, open new loans in your name, and damage your financial future. LifeLock detects and alerts you to the threats you might miss on your own. Don't let the busy holiday season catch you off guard. Save up to 25% off your first year with promo code CLAY. LifeLock.com, promo code CLAY.
The Tunnel to Towers Foundation delivers on its promise to do good and never forget the sacrifices of America's greatest heroes. Heroes who risk their lives for our communities and our country. Heroes like United States Marine Corps Captain and pilot John Jeremy Sachs. He sustained fatal injuries when his military aircraft crashed during training. Tunnel to Towers provided his wife and 2 daughters with a mortgage-free home. Join Tunnel to Towers on its mission to do good in their honor. Donate $11 a month at T2T.org.
It happens every year. Winter. Delivering and receiving supplies and getting people where they need to go can be impossible. Keeping your business doors and gates working properly to keep out the extreme weather is a major concern. Your business can't afford a loss of income or productivity. Think ahead this winter and call Industrial Door Company of Chicago, Inc. for your commercial door maintenance and security tune-up now. You can't always plan when your doors break down, and it always seems to come at the least convenient time. Industrial Door Company will ensure your doors, grills, gates, and dock equipment are working to specification and give you advice on how to increase the life of your doors. Go online to see a range of products and services at industrialdoor.com. Call anytime, 847-258-5620. Their team will be there before the extreme cold weather causes financial losses for your company and assist in your time of need. Since 1982, the Industrial Door Company of Chicago, Inc. takes care of your doors so you can take care of business.
It is 6:08. Let's get an update on the roads. We do that, of course, in the Team Hochberg Traffic Center. We'll start downtown, Magnificent Mile, Michigan and Superior. Police activity at that intersection after reports of an attempted smash and grab robbery into a building there. Bishop Ford inbound 103rd, jammed up all the way to the Dan Ryan merge. The Dan Ryan Express lanes coming inbound jammed up 35th into the Stevenson, and the Ike already slow inbound Manheim to East Avenue. It's 6:09, time to call Perma-Seal at 800-421-SEAL. Time to check your weather forecast. In the AM 560 Weather Center, here's Steve Williams.
Clouds and some breaks of sun. A high today 40. Rain or snow shower late this evening. Low tonight 32. Little to no accumulation expected. Snow and rain tomorrow morning. And again, no accumulation. The high tomorrow at 40. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560. The Answer.
In Chicago right now, 34 degrees. Your next news update, 6:30. Breaking news as it happens. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560. The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Papa Nicholas Coffee. Papa Nicholas Coffee, roasted fresh daily in Batavia, Illinois. Online at papanicholas.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. As we talked about a bit last week, we have the COP28 conference going on in Dubai. And the United Arab Emirates must be just really getting a chuckle out of all of these big wigs from the West that flew in to talk about the climate apocalypse while they announced this past spring that they're doing a record expansion of their oil and gas industries in UAE.
Uh-huh.
But anyway,
the hypocrisy is hysterical, but yeah, okay.
Our Greens are John Kerry.
Why the long face?
Because coal has still not been banned, and it has to happen immediately.
We ought to be transitioning out of coal. There shouldn't be any more coal-fired power plants permitted anywhere in the world. That's how you can do something for health.
Is President Xi clapping?
And the reality is that we're not doing it. So, the measure here is really sounding the alarm bell. I find myself getting more and more militant because I do not understand how adults who are in position of responsibility can be avoiding responsibility for taking away those things that are killing people on a daily basis. And the reality is that the climate crisis and the health crisis are one and the same.
Mm-hmm. Just a couple of points here on the, just sort of commonsensical points. Not that there's much interest in common sense in this discussion, at least from these neo-Luddites like John Kerry. 36% of all global electricity comes from coal.
Yeah.
It's 20% of U.S. energy.
Is coal.
That comes from coal.
Mm-hmm.
80% of U.S. energy comes from fossil fuels. You wouldn't know it the way they talk about alternative energy. A lot of people, it'd be interesting to survey what percentage of American energy, the energy that's needed to power a $25 trillion economy, what percentage of that comes from renewables and alternative energy? I'm sure people would be off by an exponent or with respect to that, because there's just so much ink dedicated to cheerleading alternative energy. And people probably think, windmills and electric batteries and so forth are
solar panels, man.
Solar panels are
They're
the way
everywhere.
of the switchgrass, right? They're the way of the future. 20% of U.S. energy still. So it's just a simple question. Okay, what's going to replace that? What's going to replace that capacity that we need and that we need to be reliable? And they don't have any answer to that question. That's sort of a big question, just a basic question. You don't need to be a climatologist. You don't need to be an energy industry expert. This is what the distribution is in terms of where U.S. energy comes from and global energy, since we're all global citizens. You may want to take notice of the impact that coal has on the world in terms of being a source of energy. And so just tell me how you want to replace it and what that process looks like. But they don't have answers.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. 64636 is our text line. And also, if we eliminate all the coal plants and, that whole industry, we'd have about, 100,000 people out of work? Where are they going to go? You want them to work on the wind farms and the solar panel farms?
Well,
popping up everywhere?
They don't have answers. They have arbitrary deadlines. They have press releases. They have pronouncements about, like John Kerry offered. This was the exchange earlier this year between Senator John Kennedy from Louisiana and David Turk, who is the Deputy Energy Secretary for the big guy, Mr. 10%, the Biden administration. And John Kennedy had a simple question, and you couldn't get an answer because they don't have any answers.
Percent of global emissions.
Yeah, but if you could answer my question, if we spend $50 trillion to become carbon neutral in the United States of America by 2050, you're the Deputy Secretary of Energy. Give me your estimate of how much that is going to reduce world temperatures.
So first of all, it's a net cost. It's what benefits we're having from getting our act together and reducing all of those climate benefits. We're seeing.
Let me ask again. Maybe I'm
right now.
Maybe I'm not being clear. If we spent $50 trillion to become carbon neutral by 2050 in the United States of America, how much is that going to reduce world temperatures?
This is a global problem, so we need to reduce our emissions, and we need to do everything we can.
How much, if we do our part, is it going to reduce world temperatures?
So we're 13% of global emissions.
You don't know, do you? You don't know, do you?
You can do the math. We need to.
You don't know, do you, Mr. Secretary?
So we're 13% of
If
global
you know,
emissions.
why won't you tell me?
If we went to zero, that would be 13%.
You don't know, do you? You just want us to spend $50 trillion, and you don't have the slightest idea whether it's going to reduce world temperatures. Now, I'm all for carbon neutrality, but you're the Deputy Secretary of the Department of Energy, and you're advocating we spend trillions of dollars to seek carbon neutrality, and you can't, and this isn't your money or my money, it's taxpayer money, and you can't tell me how much it's going to lower world temperatures? Or you won't tell me? You know, but you won't?
In my heart of hearts, there is no way the world gets its act together on climate change unless the U.S. leads.
Tell me how much it's
The
going
US
to
needs to
reduce.
lead.
You can't tell me. Either that or you won't.
The U.S. needs to lead in what direction? Carbon neutrality. I know, but to what end? Where are we going? They don't know. But it's not politics. It's not ideology. It's all politics and ideology. And the reason they can't tell you in part about with the impact by 2050 or 2100 is because they don't really know what global temperatures are going to be, where the trend lines are. The modeling that's been done over the course of the last 40 years that has been used speciously to whip up this frenzy has been wrong. But John Kerry tells you, no. This is just chemistry and biology and physics.
But let me just tell you bluntly, when the best scientists in the world unanimously are telling us as leaders in our countries that we are on the brink of tipping points from which you cannot come back, irreversible, that the permafrost or the Barents Sea ice or the coral reefs, or most importantly, the Arctic and the Antarctic may be at tipping point or beyond. Last summer, it was 70 degrees Fahrenheit above normal in the Arctic. It was 100 degrees Fahrenheit above normal in the Antarctic. And a massive component of ice that had been lodged in the mud because it was so heavy, it was stuck there, has now melted sufficiently that it's risen and moving across the Southern Ocean towards Georgia Island, and it will melt and accelerate the sea level rise of the planet. So this year, we just learned yesterday, it was confirmed, it's not when we learned it, was the hottest year in history, human history, that we measured. But that's true now of every year almost. For the last 30 years, decades, 3 decades ago was the third now warmest. The second decade was the second warmest, and this last decade, the warmest in history. So I'm not going to say more about it, except to say that if we can't hear Mother Nature and can't judge with our own eyes what the science is telling us, this is not about politics, there's no ideology, there's no pejorative against any one business or any approach. There is simply mathematics and physics and some chemistry and biology.
None of that's true. None of what he said is true. Starting with the unanimity among the so-called scientists. I mean, the selected scientists that come together to serve as the backdrop of a John Kerry speech. It's sort of like when Biden invokes, 15 Nobel laureates who endorse his latest industrial policy. That's not unanimity. I would encourage people. I mean, we've had her on the show before, but I just did a long interview with Judith Curry, who is the former head of climate and atmospheric sciences at Georgia Tech, and was once like a celebrated figure in this John Kerry eschatological climate movement, and then fell out of favor because she actually is a scientist. You've probably heard a story before, at least you've heard a part of it on this show before, but at my Counterculture podcast tomorrow, a full hour where Judith Curry goes through so many of the specious claims made by hucksters like John Kerry and Al Gore and Greta Thunberg and all the other celebrities that are pumping real noxious gases into our political environment, what emanates from the orifice in the middle of their heads. This is all politics and all ideology. This is not to say we should be blithely indifferent to being good stewards of our planet and the environment and the animals and the air and the water. Nobody, another false equivalence, just like we have when it comes to immigration. If you're not for open borders, then you hate immigrants. You hate black and brown people from other countries. Ridiculous. If you're not for trying to, if you're not for degrowth, if you're not for deindustrialization of the industrialized world, then you're a climate denier and you're indifferent to clean air and clean water and you're not interested in saving lives. I mean, it's always these false arguments that are propagated by these central planners with designs on global control of people's lives.
Right, and they're not meteorologists, they're not climatologists, they've had no study in this area. Do you remember what he said back in 2009, that the Arctic's going to be ice-free by 2013?
You have sea ice, which is melting at a rate that the Arctic Ocean now increasingly is exposed. In 5 years, scientists predict we will have the first ice-free Arctic summer. That exposes more ocean.
Yeah. I mean, he just goes on and on, but that's from 2009.
Right, and there's a million of these predictions from the John Kerrys and the Al Gores of the world that were all just completely evidence-free hysterics.
Yeah, what was Al Gore's? He got the kids all riled up.
Here's what you actually are dealing with. I mean, this is at least honest. This is from a conference at the EU earlier this year. We played it before, but let's revisit it so we remind ourselves exactly what we're dealing with. Anuna de Wever van der Heijden, who's a Belgian climate activist, addressing the Beyond Growth 2023 conference. This is before, the policy leaders of the European Union countries. And listen to what she says, and listen to the audience reaction.
Infinite growth on finite resources is not only a myth, but it's extractivist and ruthlessly oppressive by design. So when talking about growth and defending growth, there is a very important first question that we need to ask ourselves. Who are we growing this economy for? And what stories do we use to justify it? We have to acknowledge what lays below our growth. White supremacy, colonialism, and imperialism. White supremacy justifies a global system of exploitation and extractivism. Colonialism lays at the foundations of the European economy, institutions, corporate value chains, trade deals, investment agreements, and geopolitical structures of wealth accumulation, which means that there is no degrowth without decolonization.
No politics there.
We need to take these conversations outside of these rooms and make sure that for all of the hundreds of fossil fuel lobbyists demanding growth, there are thousands of us demanding degrowth. We need to redistribute wealth, cancel climate debt, implement a universal basic income, massively invest in loss and damage funds, degrow the economy in high-income countries, increase universal public services, reduce working time, dematerialize, and reprioritize what it means to live a human life.
What do we want? The Dark Ages. When do we want it? As soon as possible. I mean, degrow the economy. Is that what you heard from her, climate activist? Is that's just more chemistry and physics and biology and math? I mean, come on. Robert in Bloomingdale, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hey, hi guys. It's all manipulation. These guys, they're not going to get a straight answer out of these people because that's all it is. And John Kerry, in my opinion, would be nothing but a floor-flushing lobbyist if it wasn't for his wife from the ketchup, heir to the ketchup throne.
She gives him a ride on his jet.
Thanks for the call, Robert. By the way, I saw that some of the jets were grounded in Munich because
wasn't
of a
that great?
snowstorm.
I loved it.
And again,
they'll blame that on climate change. We couldn't get to the climate change conference because there's snow in December. Well, yeah, there normally is snow in December. Please.
one more flashback here because I just want to get to Kerry because this is one of the favorite lines that's current from this set. These flim-flammers trying to sell you end days. Hottest temperature on record, hottest year on record, so on and so forth.
Boiling oceans.
They still are operating off the infamous Michael Mann hockey stick. The spike in temperatures, allegedly at the end of the 20th century. Mm-hmm. And it's been completely debunked. They cooked, pun intended, they cooked the data by not providing the full data. They cherry-picked it and isolated to show a spike without showing the resultant decline to suggest that we don't really know exactly what the trajectory is. And we certainly don't know, even if you do see a slight rise in temperatures and that sustains all the causes. Because, the climate is a complicated area of study. And there are many variables, not just your gas-guzzling car. Richard Mueller is a physicist at Berkeley. And he went through this in his class. Listen to what he said. He's a physicist. John Kerry's a political hack and a kept man, thanks to the ketchup bottle, as Robert from Bloomingdale said. And Mueller's an actual physicist at Berkeley.
Mike, who's Michael Mann, said, hey, trick just means mathematical trick. That's all. Now, and my response is, I'm not worried about the word trick. I'm worried about the decline. What do you mean hide the decline? Let me show you this. Now we have the data. Now it's been released. And this is what it is. That's the raw data as any Berkeley scientist would have published it. He would have said, okay, we've had the medieval ice age, and now we have global warming. And there's some disagreement, but hey, there's disagreement all over the place. And that just shows the technique isn't completely reliable. What they did is they took the data from 1961 onward, from this peak, and erased it. What was their justification for erasing it? The fact that it went down. And we know the temperature's going up. Therefore, it was unreliable. Is this unreliable? No. How do we know? Well, we don't know. But, this is probably some human effect. The justification would not have survived peer review in any journal that I'm willing to publish in. But they had it well hidden, and they erased that, and they replaced it with temperature going up. And let me show you how cleverly this was done. You get back to this plot. There it is. They added the same temperature data to 3 different plots, giving you the illusion that there are 3 different sets going up. And they smoothed it. This temperature changes smoothly. If they hadn't smoothed it, you might have noticed, oh, wait a minute, what's the change going on right there? Why is it abruptly different? But you don't notice that because it's smooth. But smoothing is legitimate in their minds because the temperature change is not discontinuous. So that's what they did. And what is the result in my mind? Quite frankly, as a scientist, I now have a list of people whose papers I won't read anymore. You're not allowed to do this in science. This is not up to our standards. I get infuriated with colleagues of mine who say, well, it's a human field. You make mistakes. And then I show them this. And they say, no, that's not acceptable.
Right. It wasn't a mistake. It was fraud. Dan and Amy, Chicago's Morning Answer.
Connect with Dan and Amy using the AM 560 mobile app. Download it today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
Have you been struggling to find an easy, safe, and secure document scanning solution for Salesforce.com, Microsoft 365, SharePoint, or OnBase by Highland? Your struggle is now over, and it's time to get your documents and operations into the 21st century. With IoT Smart Connected Scanning, it's easy to turn physical paper into digital documents and have them directly uploaded to the cloud with IoT Smart Connected Scanning from IDT. And you don't need a degree in computing or IT to make it happen. Using QR code technology uniquely configured for your specific business, anyone can set the IoT Smart Connected Scanning device up in 5 minutes or less, saving your organization money and valuable time. Remote employees can even capture documents and send them safely and seamlessly. Organize documents efficiently and securely with IoT Smart Connected Scanning from IDT. To see a demo or to order now, go to ready4idt.com. That's ready4idt.com. Use promo code SMART and receive 10% off your order. IDT, putting paper in its place.
Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson here, and if you're a small business owner or you make the marketing or advertising decisions for a business, then this message is for you.
Our annual Food for the Poor campaign is underway, and this year we're helping to raise money for children and their families in Latin America and the Caribbean who are desperate for access to food.
Millions of people, including many children, are suffering during this season of economic decline, unemployment, and rising food prices.
Here's how you and your business can be part of the solution. Become a Food for the Poor business benefactor. Just make a $2,500 tax-deductible donation to Food for the Poor, and AM 560 will give you 40 one-minute commercials to air here on AM 560 The Answer between 5 a.m. and 8 p.m. Monday through Friday at no additional cost to you.
It's the best deal in all of Chicago radio.
Just call Anjanette Natowski at 847-472-8951. Again, that's 847-472-8951, or go to 560theanswer.com/food for the poor.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
No child mutilation, no lunch, 636.
First, let's stop by the newsroom and say good Monday morning to our good friend Mike Scott.
34 degrees. Skies are cloudy this morning and will be cloudy through much of this day. Good morning, everyone. I'm Mike Scott. An Israeli official says what his country's military has had to do against Hamas is unprecedented in world history.
I don't think any other country, including the United States, I don't know if you ever faced a situation like this, would take such great care. So we agree with the United States that we want to do everything we can to reduce civilian casualties and to ramp up humanitarian assistance, and we'll continue to do that as we prosecute this war.
Speaking on ABC's This Week, Israeli Minister of Strategic Affairs Ron Dermer. Iranian-backed Houthi rebels are claiming responsibility for attacks on commercial ships in the Red Sea on Sunday. The USS Carney shot down several drones that officials say were launched from Houthi-controlled parts of Yemen. College football has announced its top schools that will battle for a national title. Michigan, Washington, Texas, and Alabama were selected by the playoff committee on Sunday. Washington celebrated singer Dionne Warwick, comedian Billy Crystal, Bee Gees member Barry Gibb, rapper and actress Queen Latifah, and opera star Renee Fleming on Sunday at the Kennedy Center Honors. Fleming on the impact in the arts, particularly opera.
So it's very much a part of our DNA, and it has a huge effect on us even if we're not realizing it. It is in a patient with dementia, it is the last memory to go, is musical memory. So there's so much about it that's kind of embedded in us. So in culture as well, I think we don't realize that it's everywhere.
The show kicked off again with a tribute to Dionne Warwick. Chicago police are investigating a fire at the historic Swift Mansion in Bronzeville as arson. Fire Captain John Giordano.
A lot of fire up in the attic, so there was extensive salvage and overhaul. It escalated to a still in box alarm. So we had approximately 55 fire personnel on scene with EMS.
The historic home was built in 1892 and then added to the national designation of historic registered places in 1978. Chicago sports, Blackhawks gave up 3 goals in the first period in a 4-1 loss to the Wild at the X in the Twin Cities. The Bulls, a weekend win over New Orleans. Northwestern Wildcats handed number 1 Purdue their first loss of the season with a weekend win, 92-88 in overtime. Handful of college football teams from our region going bowling, including Northern Illinois taking on Arkansas State. And Northwestern will take on Utah in the Las Vegas Bowl. The news is a service of the Fireplace and Chimney Authority, Chicagoland's largest and most respected fireplace and chimney company. Call to schedule your appointment today, 630-279-8500. A check of traffic and weather's on the way next on AM 560.
The Sean Thompson Show.
Hezbollah leader threatens escalation. You've been threatening. You know, they all threaten from Qatar. You know, this is the one thing. And here in America, same thing. All of these old men, it looks like the shooting of Cocoon 3. All of these 90-year-old men, they send our young boys. How come none of the leaders fight? See, I want to fight. I'll fight you. I want to fight the leader of Hamas. I'll fight the leader of Hezbollah. I want to fight you.
The Sean Thompson Show. Weekday afternoons at 4 on AM 560. The Answer.
A great smile can make you feel happy and confident. So when you consciously conserve your teeth, that glowing smile will show through. At Best Dental Group, Doctors Economos, Gavalis, and their staff are ready to help you create that perfect look or maintain the one you have now. Along with general dentistry, Best Dental Group is a multidisciplined practice with an orthodontist, periodontist, and prosthetic specialists on site. They use the newest breakthroughs in dental technology, such as titanium implants, Invisalign clear braces, and laser treatments. Don't let fear get in the way. They can recommend sedation to make your experience as comfortable as possible. Best Dental Group is located in historic downtown Bartlett and is a multilingual office. Call 630-830-4930. That's 630-830-4930. Or visit bestdental.org. Best Dental Group, sharing your conservative values and helping you to conserve your teeth.
Hi, everybody. I'm Kathy Lee Gifford, and I've been blessed to have a wonderful career for a lot of years. People still come up to me all the time, and they go, "How are you, Kathy Lee? How's your va-va-voom?" And I laugh with them, and I tell them, still going strong, still taking my balance of nature every day, and telling all my friends and loved ones to do the same. Because it's balance of nature, changing the world, one life at a time.
Celebrate Christmas with us. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer to get 35% off your first order plus a free fiber and spice supplement with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this exclusive holiday offer by using discount code KLG.
Let's see, if something costs less, but people are happier with it, that sounds like something to look into, and that is Medi-Share. Maybe you've heard switching to Medi-Share to pay for healthcare can save many families up to $500 a month, and that is huge. But it's also true that people are way more satisfied after making the switch, too. The member satisfaction rate for Medi-Share is double that of the typical health insurance plan. Double. Medi-Share works, too. It's been around for 30 years. Members have shared more than $5 billion of each other's bills. People love having telehealth and a huge nationwide PPO network. So, yeah, really, you can save a ton and like it better. Imagine being happy with how you're taking care of your health care. So if you're self-employed or part of the gig economy, or you just want a plan you're happy with, you can call right now. You'll get a price within 2 minutes. So see what you can save. This is a very, very smart use of 2 minutes. Here's the number you need. Call 844-94-BIBLE. That's 844-94-BIBLE. 844-94-BIBLE.
Pluto TV is your home for the holidays. Enjoy Christmas classics, all for free. Download the Pluto TV app on all your favorite devices. Pluto TV, stream now, pay never.
It is 6:39. Let's get an update on the roads. A service of Lowe's. Lowe's knows how to save pros time and money. Right now, save $40 or more on a Werner 6-foot step ladder. Was $115, now just $69.98. Lowe's knows savings. Lowe's knows pros. Valid from 12/7 through 12/13 while supplies last. Inbound on the Edens Expressway. We are watching delays already between Cicero and the junction, 30 minutes in from Lake Cook Road. Kennedy is at 1 hour, O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. Stop and go on the Ike inbound between Manheim and First Avenue. As you're traveling on the outbound Ike, you'll see brake lights Des Plaines Avenue to First Avenue. Dan Ryan, stop and go in the Express inbound, 47th up through the Stevenson. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Clouds with some breaks of sun today, a high near 40. Currently 34. Your next news update is at 7. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is sponsored by Protecting Your Assets with Steve Shyman. Listen Saturday mornings at 8. Learn more at willsave.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. No child mutilation, no soup for you. That's the position of the Biden administration. This fight started a year and a half ago when the USDA announced it was changing its longstanding interpretation of Title IX that governs discrimination protections in education to include discrimination based on sexual orientation and gender identity. So if the school doesn't comply with the gender identity politics of the regime, then no school lunch funding for that school. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line, 64636DA, turnkey.pro text line. This is the next iteration. I mean, it was telegraphed, of course, but this is the next iteration of the fight over pushing the LGBTQ2S+++, but mainly the T agenda in K through 12 education. Attach funding to it. Prohibit teams who don't participate in it from participating in athletics and athletic competitions altogether. The next iteration. This is a fight. Republicans in the Senate tried to overturn this Department of Agriculture interpretation of Title IX, but it didn't happen. They don't have the numbers. Senator Roger Marshall, Republican from Kansas, don't be fooled here. The Biden administration is the only player in this policy fight that is taking away lunches from children. There's real-world evidence the USDA's policy has already taken away school lunch funding from low-income children. Weaponizing school lunch money in pursuit of their radical agenda and putting students in the crosshairs is unconscionable, and we will not stand for it. Well, we'll see. I mean, there'll be litigation on this. Maybe it makes its way to the Supreme Court, but this is the approach that's being taken.
Okay, it's like another example of conform or die. I mean, there's people that need those lunches. There's other students that don't, but that is just some big government stuff going on there.
Well, I mean, it's unsurprising, number one. And also, frankly, unfortunately, how many government schools will actually be affected? How many government schools aren't already folded in? That's the real sad commentary. This probably doesn't get much press in certainly big metropolitan areas because what schools are not folded into this already? The teachers, the administrators, some of the parents at least, school board members. Mm-hmm. And you think, well, it's just, let's just go along, get along. Okay. Interesting data out of Oregon. Per a Oregon Department of Education report that was released the end of last week, its annual report, effectively, for the state, the number of non-binary identifying students increased 57%.
What?
Yeah, 57% increase. Nearly 3,000 K through 12 students in Oregon now have some gender identity other than the sex that they were born as.
Well, that's because their educators were pushing that narrative, don't you think?
Fourth year in a row that you've seen an increase in non-binary. Still represents a fraction of the students in Oregon government schools, but keeps going up. 3,000. That's a lot of potential dudes playing women's sports, right? And again, the social contagion aspect of this, which is obvious, and frankly, there's research that's been muted, but research that suggests exactly that, particularly among girls, interestingly. This is the research that was done at Brown University. And you're just going to hope that your kids get out before they're impacted, or they're already out, so you're not impacted. But, of course, let's try to remember what happens on campus, K through 12 and college, doesn't stay on campus. How many examples do we have to live through before that starts to register? And what's the impact of that? Just that aspect of it? Oh, well, by the way, the imposition I mentioned. So no school lunch funding for the few government schools that would dare to cross the regime. And also this is a Christian school, but this is what the state does. A Christian school in Vermont that forfeited a game, girls basketball team. They forfeited a state tournament game in protest of having to play against a 6'1" dude pretending to be a girl on the team that they were going to play, who's been dominating girls basketball. They forfeited the game, and so the governing body for high school sports in Vermont has prohibited that school from participating in future tournaments. So there you go.
Another conform or die. Yeah. Well, that's not fair.
Oh, fairness.
Fair. Did I even say that?
What's not fair? What's not fair is not being tolerant and welcoming and so on and so forth. And
they could get injured playing a 6'1" dude. I mean, he could elbow them in the face, break a nose, give them a concussion, and when you get a concussion, it may take a long time to come back from that.
This just happened again in a volleyball game. California fathers come forward. A 17-year-old daughter suffered a serious concussion during a high school volleyball game in which the opposing team had a boy pretending to be a girl competing alongside women. She had to sit out her senior year. My daughter has been involved in volleyball since she's in fourth grade. Said Dad, she's always been the kid with the eye on the prize. When she first started asking about playing volleyball, she began practicing in the backyard for hours at a time. She'd hit the ball on the sloped roof. Eventually, she was able to be a team captain at her school. And then they played this team, Half Moon Bay, from a distance. Says Dad, it seemed like a boy dressed in a girl's volleyball uniform. Yeah.
Because it was, Dad.
Yeah. I told my wife it was not fair. What's fairness have to do with it? I felt frustrated. I was now supporting someone's gender confusion. To boot, they were now playing against my daughter and her teammates. And then it happened. He didn't even see it. Did you see that? She was hit by that boy. I had missed the actual hit, but felt the weight of everyone staring at me, including the opposing team. After the game, he said, a few parents voiced their displeasure with the incident. With all this cancel culture crap, I was walking on eggshells, not wanting to add more fuel to this fire. I totally felt alone, like this was a bad dream. My daughter knew how angry I was, but the drive was telling as my daughter asked me not to make a big deal of it, but to me it was already a big deal. She was playing for fun. It was her final year doing it. She felt robbed. I felt deflated and powerless. There's our culture.
And the same thing happened in 2022 in North Carolina when the student was hit in the face. An outside hitter was a man. Hit the ball about 50 miles per hour or faster. Hit her. She suffered severe head and neck injury and still has concussion symptoms. And she still has problems with her vision.
Well, and it's only going to increase those incidents. But I know, again, I mean, you're going to have to break a few eggs to be tolerant, to transform gender, to properly be respectful of our identitarian political culture, right?
I love what the dad said. He said, don't get me wrong, I have empathy for the boy. I don't know what it feels like for someone to be born a male and not identify with that. Life must be difficult. But at some point, does someone's gender dysphoria cross the empathy boundary?
I go back to our friend Rich from Indian Head Park's question. What do they want? When's this going to stop? I don't know. When's it going to stop? We're not all spectators here. None of us are, or should be. When's it going to stop? I don't know. What are you going to do about it? Very simple. That a question that was asked by that trans cyclist and advocate on The Daily Show. It's a real simple question. You either believe a man pretending to be a woman is a woman or you don't. I totally agree with her. You either do or you don't. Joe in Naperville.
Yeah, you guys are missing the big picture on this lunch thing. Why is the government so involved in feeding these kids to begin with? Why isn't the person's patient or the parent's responsibility? This is ridiculous. If they could afford an iPhone, they could afford a peanut butter sandwich for their kid.
Okay, Joe. Roger, Southside.
Hi, Dan, Amy. It's unfortunate with all these girls, athletes, whether they be high school or college level. The parents have to pull the kids out or just say, you know what, we're leaving the school now.
Thanks for the call,
Yeah,
Roger.
but when you leave the school, you go to another school, and the same thing's happening there.
Well, you leave the school and you go to another school. You go to Vermont Christian, and then you forfeit a game because you don't want your girls to play against a 6'1" dude who's dominating girls basketball, and then they don't let you play in the tournament anymore.
How could they disqualify? I mean, forever they can't play, or just 1 year suspended. They shouldn't even be suspended at all. They have freedom of choice, freedom of expression, and they collectively as a team decided not to play against them, and they should not be penalized for that.
Point here is simple. I don't know why so many people fail to appreciate this. Just because you retreat doesn't mean they won't chase you. If we just give in here, if we just retreat here, well, in our culture right now, you have so many sensible people that are retreating here just so they can retreat at the next place they stop. And they think that somehow, at some point, they're going to stop getting chased. I don't think those individuals understand the nature of what they're dealing with and who they're dealing with. It should start registering. Matt in Oak Lawn.
Hey, good morning, guys. This dad's a sissy. He can't stand up for his own kid. He's, walking on eggshells about some ridiculous situation. It involves his own child. He's a wimp. But if I was coaching, and I'll never coach a high school team, but I'll coach grammar school teams. If they put a kid out, I would pull my girls. Fine. If they did that and said, well, you can't be in the tournament, whatever it may be, then I'm going to get my Anthony Mason, who's in the boys' class, and say, you know what, when we play this team, you're on the bench. And the minute that kid goes in the game, you go in the game. And you say to their coach, every time that kid goes on the field, that dude goes in. So just get it over with right now, and let's knock off the BS and let these girls play.
Thanks. That's what we're going to start having. I mean, that's really interesting, actually. We're going to start having male enforcers on girls' teams. Right. So you put in your Oakley, and I put in my Anthony Mason. And they go at it. Problem is, those two are going at it. There's a bunch of other girls still on the court that are in harm's way. But I mean, I appreciate the absurdity of where we're going. Right.
I mean,
I'm going to respond to your enforcer with my enforcer.
The bottom line is they're taking the spot away from a woman or a young lady, teenager, whatever.
Sean and Darian.
Yeah, I mean, simply you have to get other parents involved, because I have a daughter in 7th grade volleyball, and go there, and I would be their worst nightmare. and you'd probably be reading about me on the news or seeing me on the news because I wouldn't stop. I mean, it ain't going to happen. There's not going to be a boy in my daughter's locker room, and he's not going to be on the team. That's simple. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Sean. Jordan Antioch. It's good to hear from the dads here. Hey,
Good
Jordan.
morning. We need to, I don't, obviously, and I teach my son not to, but for those that turn away from it, we need to start taking the language back, and we need to start just standing our ground morally and just sensibly. When people are talking about you're not trans, you're gay. You're not trans, you're a lesbian. The problem is, and my wife and I were discussing this, here's how this started. These are people who are ashamed because they know they're ashamed to admit that they're gay, or they have parents that don't want to say they have a gay son or a lesbian daughter. So it's easier to try to convince everybody that you're a man wanting to have sex with a woman. It is what it is.
Or it's none of the above, as we've seen, or it's none of the above, and you're just doing something that's fashionable. That's the social contagion piece of it.
And that's the thing, and that started, and now people want to do it because it's popular. Right up until the point where the rubber hits the road, and now you've committed to this, and now somebody says, well, okay, you're this, but you want to have sex with this, well, that's gay. Well, no, I'm not gay, I'm trans. Well, which one is it? And if you're in the sport, stand your ground. You're not trans, you're a cheater. You suck when you're a guy, or you suck when you're a girl, and you're looking for the advantageous nature of changing. You're a cheater. Just people need to stop running from this. People need to stop turning away and bowing down and caving to this because you're afraid you're going to hurt somebody's feelings or whatever, and just stand your ground because you're defending your kids. You're defending your kids as an adult and a kid. You're defending the rest of their lives.
Thanks for the call, Jordan. Appreciate it. Well, as I said before, men without chests, and that specifically goes for the dads here. Men without chests leave girls with concussions and without teeth, as we saw in that field hockey incident as well. Dan and Amy, Chicago's Morning Answer.
The more you listen, the more you'll know. This is Chicago's Morning Answer. On AM 560, The Answer.
Hi, everybody. I'm Kathy Lee Gifford, and I've been blessed to have a wonderful career for a lot of years. People still come up to me all the time, and they go, how are you, Kathy Lee? How's your va-va-voom? And I laugh with them, and I tell them, still going strong, still taking my balance of nature every day, and telling all my friends and loved ones to do the same. Because it's balance of nature, changing the world, one life at a time.
Celebrate Christmas with us. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer to get 35% off your first order plus a free fiber and spice supplement with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this exclusive holiday offer by using discount code KLG.
Pajamagram's famous naturally nude pajamas are back. A very luxurious Christmas gift for her, one that'll make you a holiday hero. This year, Pajamagram has upped the ante. How about a free Barely There naturally nude nightie? How about $75 of savings? How about gift packaging options and quick delivery? That's an effortless 2-in-1 deluxe gift that you both are guaranteed to love. Soft and silky with a barely there feel, curve caressing with a fit that's better than lingerie. Best selling for a reason. Pajamagram's naturally nude pajamas and nightie are designed to make her feel amazing and drive you wild. Now is the time to win Christmas. Now is the time to go get your special someone naturally nude from Pajamagram. But hurry, this gift sells out every year. Shop now while it lasts. Head to Pajamagram.com for naturally nude pajamas and save $75 on a free naturally nude nightie.
AM 560, The Answer.
I want to read the Pajamagram commercials.
No, you're doing much better.
Thank you. All right.
Much more sultry.
Thank you. Coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Our Iranian friends financing an attack on a U.S. warship in the Red Sea. That seemed to be provocative. We'll check in on that with Steve Bucci from the Heritage Foundation at 7:07.
But first, let's stop by that newsroom and say good morning once again to Mike Scott.
Construction continues at the Brighton Park Migrant Tent Camp. WIND Chicago News Time is 7 o'clock.
The U.S. military in action in the Middle East again. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. At sea and on land, where Fox's Jonathan Savage reports.
It's described as a self-defense strike on an imminent threat. We're told a group of fighters appeared to be preparing a drone or rocket attack targeting U.S. forces in Iraq. Before they could do any damage, they were taken out by a one-way United States drone. The Islamic resistance in Iraq, which is backed by Iran, says 5 of its members were killed.
This after Iran-linked militants have targeted U.S. forces in the region more than 70 times in recent weeks. In the Red Sea, an American warship, the USS Carney, fired at Iran-backed Houthi rebels in Yemen, defending 3 commercial ships that had come under attack. Now to Gaza.
We've seen Black Hawk helicopters likely evacuating casualties to hospitals in central Israel. You can hear some of that artillery in the distance. A very large fire mission taking place against the northern part of the Gaza Strip right now. It's day 59 of the war between Israel and Hamas.
Fox's Trey Youngston, Sderot, Israel.
Israel is expanding their operation to the southern part of Gaza, now targeting positions on the ground near the city of Khan Yunis.
Now, Israel's been urging Palestinians to evacuate areas of heavy fighting. Officials with the Hamas-run health ministry say more than 15,000 Palestinians have been killed in the Israeli attacks. The Air Force says divers have found wreckage of the Air Force Osprey aircraft that crashed last week off the coast of Japan. They've also found the remains of 5 crew members. 1 other crew member was found last week. A former American diplomat who used to be the U.S. ambassador to Bolivia under arrest in Florida. Manuel Rocha accused of
working to promote the Cuban government's interests over the course of his 25-year diplomatic career. Much of his time and work spent in Latin America during the Cold War.
Fox's Alexandria Hoff. Spotify is going to lay off 17% of the music streaming services workforce. America's listening to Fox News.
34 degrees, 7:02 is our time on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. Chicago police are investigating a fire at the historic Swift Mansion in Bronzeville, and they're doing so as arson. Officials say the blaze broke out yesterday on the 3rd floor of the building in the 4500 block of South Michigan Avenue. Fire Captain John Giordiano.
A lot of fire up in the attic, so there was extensive salvage and overhaul. It escalated to a still in box alarm, so we had approximately 55 fire personnel on scene with EMS.
Now that fire was put out before firefighters were called once again to that address after the flames rekindled. The historic home was built in 1892. Construction continues on a winterized tent camp for illegal migrants in Chicago's Brighton Park neighborhood. Despite a report showing the site was contaminated, crews were working on the base camp yesterday at 38th and California. An investigation is underway after police shot and killed a man in Elk Grove Village. Police investigating say Jack Murray was leaving a home holding a knife in the 200 block of Fern Drive when he confronted the officers in a nearby backyard. Officers then shot Murray, who died at a nearby hospital. Murray's family has hired an attorney. Blackhawks gave up 3 goals in the first period in a 4-1 loss to the Wild in the Twin Cities. Bulls controlled the second half of a weekend win over New Orleans. They host Charlotte on Wednesday. Bears back at it, continuing preparations for Sunday's contest against the Lions at Soldier Field. The news, a service of the AM 560 Advantage, where membership has its privileges. Join today, 560theanswer.com/join. A check of traffic and weather is on the way next on AM 560.
Brandon Tatum is looking for something real from the White House.
Let's renew our sense of connection with each other and reinforce the importance of our unity. I think that's really important.
What does that mean? She said nothing. What is she even talking about? You gotta try hard to be this fake.
The Officer Tatum Show. Weeknights at 7, right before Jay Sekulow at 9 on AM 560. The Answer.
Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson here, and if you're a small business owner or you make the marketing or advertising decisions for a business, then this message is for you.
Our annual Food for the Poor campaign is underway, and this year we're helping to raise money for children and their families in Latin America and the Caribbean who are desperate for access to food.
Millions of people, including many children, are suffering during this season of economic decline, unemployment, and rising food prices.
Here's how you and your business can be part of the solution. Become a Food for the Poor business benefactor. Just make a $2,500 tax-deductible donation to Food for the Poor, and AM 560 will give you 40 one-minute commercials to air here on AM 560 The Answer between 5 a.m. and 8 p.m. Monday through Friday at no additional cost to you.
It's the best deal in all of Chicago radio.
Just call Anjanette Natowski at 847-472-8951. Again, that's 847-472-8951, or go to 560theanswer.com/food for the poor.
With the holidays upon us, the increase in traveling, shopping, and connecting online also heightens the need to protect your identity and finances with LifeLock. Identity thieves see this time of year as an opportunity to drain your accounts, open new loans in your name, and damage your financial future. LifeLock detects and alerts you to the threats you might miss on your own. Don't let the busy holiday season catch you off guard. Save up to 25% off your first year with promo code CLAY. LifeLock.com, promo code CLAY.
The Tunnel to Towers Foundation delivers on its promise to do good and never forget the sacrifices of America's greatest heroes. Heroes who risk their lives for our communities and our country. Heroes like United States Marine Corps Captain and pilot John Jeremy Sachs. He sustained fatal injuries when his military aircraft crashed during training. Tunnel to Towers provided his wife and 2 daughters with a mortgage-free home. Join Tunnel to Towers on its mission to do good in their honor. Donate $11 a month at T2T.org.
Announcing a one-and-done Christmas gift for her that is sure to make you a holiday hero. So smooth, so seductive. It's the new Smooth Seduction Satin Nightie and Robe from Pajamagram. Curve caressing, glides against the skin. The Smooth Seduction Satin Nightie and Robe are designed to make her feel amazing and drive you wild. But that's not all. Right now, Pajamagram is offering a Smooth Seduction satin gift set. It's the sultry robe with the sexy nightie, plus a free satin eye mask, all elegantly wrapped in a satin keepsake bag. That's 4 deluxe gifts, quickly delivered to your door, ready to go under the tree. So if you want to win the holidays, go to Pajamagram.com today and get the Smooth Seduction Satin Nightie and Robe with free eye mask in a keepsake bag. But hurry, order today before it sells out. That's Pajamagram.com for the Smooth Seduction Satin gift set.
It is 7:07, and let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. And we will start in Joliet this morning, Will County. Bad accident. Chicago is jammed up with accident investigation, both north and southbound between McDonough and Ottawa. And McDonough is also closed east and westbound between 4th Avenue and Water. Keep an eye on that. It's a bad accident. And also bad travel times on the tri-state. Mainly in the locals, you're seeing big delays between the Reagan and the Eisenhower. Bishop Ford jamming into the Ryan merge, and the Ryan itself right now is at 25 95th into the Burns Circle interchange. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast with Steve Williams.
Clouds and some breaks of sun. A high today 40. Rain or snow shower late this evening. Low tonight 32. Little to no accumulation expected. Snow and rain tomorrow morning. And again, no accumulation. The high tomorrow at 40. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560. The Answer.
Currently 35 and mostly cloudy at O'Hare. Your next news update is at 7:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560. The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. So on Friday, Hamas fired rockets at Israel in violation of the pause. They also failed to produce the remaining female hostages to trade for more time and prisoners. And so the war is back on. And in response to that, and boy, who could have seen that a terrorist organization responsible for the greatest mass killing of Jews since the Holocaust would act in less than good faith. 105 hostages were freed, 137 remain by last count.
Including Americans, one female that we know of, and then Hirsch Goldberg. He's still being held hostage.
And the response from Mr. 10%, the big guy, via his animatronic Secretary of State, Tony Blinken, is to put Israel on a quote-unquote short leash. The response from the big guy via his Veep is to focus on revitalizing the Palestinian Authority?
Well, as I said, we have to revitalize the Palestinian Authority, which means giving the support that is necessary for good governance, understanding that on the issues that must be resolved as we think of a plan for the day after, it is about good governance, which will bring transparency and accountability to the people of Gaza and the West Bank. It's also about what we need to do to recognize there must be some plan for security for the region, and I suspect as a plan develops, it will take into account interim and then longer term. And finally, what we must do in terms of rebuilding Gaza.
Boy, this isn't a home makeover show, woman.
So let's just do it all over again, says Kamala. Let's just go back to pre-October 7th and hope it doesn't turn out the same, right? For more on this, we're pleased to be joined by Stephen Bucci, who's served America for 3 decades as an Army Special Forces officer and top Pentagon official. He's a visiting fellow at the Heritage Foundation's Allison Center for Foreign Policy Studies. Steve Bucci, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
It's always great to be on the show with both of you.
Can you help us decipher what Kamala Harris means by revitalizing the Palestinian Authority?
Well, I'd love to say that I could, and I understand exactly what the vice president's trying to say, but I'm with you guys. I'm scratching my head going, what? She's talking about revitalizing the Palestinian Authority, but the Palestinian Authority, while they're not quite Hamas, they didn't do October 7th, but they've been cheerleading for it ever since. They've expressed nothing, that would really make them a more responsible partner in this process than clearly the Hamas, government there in air quotes, that's in Gaza. So I guess to say, well, let's put the Palestinian Authority in charge of the whole thing, I guess that's better than just giving it back to Hamas to do, but not much.
Well, do we have evidence that the Palestinian Authority was involved in the planning of that terrorist attack? I mean, either with a wink and a nod or willful blindness, which can also implicate culpability, or even more formally?
I have not seen any intel or heard any big reports on that, other than they're cheerleading for it. After the fact, they're shaking their fist and saying, "Go, brothers, we're behind you." But I have not seen any specific intel that they were involved. The Palestinian Authority didn't get along with Hamas very well. They're competitors, and so I don't think that the guys in office were involved with the planning or anything else.
Well, yeah,
sure, but
yeah. Well, knowledge is makes you an accomplice. I mean, they may be competing for top dog in the region, but they also have a common enemy.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm not waving off and saying they're not without sin. They're if you're cheerleading for that kind of horrific action, that does not mark you as then a responsible partner for the future.
Right.
So I think what the vice president is saying is lunatic stuff. That is not a plan going forward. That is not something that's going to benefit either the Palestinian people or darn sure not Israel or the region. So I think they're hoping against hope for something like this. So the pressure from the protests and all this other stuff that's going on will come off of them, and all of the Muslim people around America who are saying, well, I'm not going to vote for Joe Biden, and he's helping Israel. Well, yeah, presidents are supposed to make decisions. I'm not going to vote for Joe Biden, but it's not because he's supporting Israel. It's because he's not supporting Israel strongly enough and condemning Hamas with even more fervency and without this parsing thing that Blinken is leading, that they're trying to straddle a line and continue to make this look like Israel is somehow to blame for all this. And if they would just be nicer to the Palestinians, this wouldn't be a problem. That is not the issue. The issue is the Palestinians, not just Hamas, frankly, but many of the Palestinians, particularly in Gaza, have made a conscious decision that their only policy position is to exterminate Israel, period. Anything else falls short of their expectations. And as the leaders of Hamas have stated many times since October 7th, they did this, they're proud of it, and they're going to do it again.
Well, what do we do? I mean, the Houthi rebels launched a drone strike against the U.S. destroyer in the Red Sea, and that's just one of, 65 attacks on military bases. And I know one American contractor was killed. We don't hear about this. It's rarely on the news, if mentioned at all.
Yeah, what happened to our partner in peace in Tehran?
Yeah, right. Tehran, I've had people from the region, other Shia governments, when I was still living in D.C. and meeting with ambassadors on a regular basis, tell us during the first negotiations to make a deal with Iran, saying, why in the world are you trying to negotiate with the Persians? Said, nobody in our region ever negotiates with the Persians because you always lose negotiations with them. They're the most skillful and deceptive negotiators in the entire Middle East, if not the world. They lie regularly. It's part of their modus operandi. We continue, people in the progressive part of our government, continue to think, oh, no, we just talk to them, we can figure this out. They are not partners in anything. They are our adversaries, and they admit it fully. So you're right. They are sponsoring the Houthis. They're sponsoring Hezbollah, Hamas. They're sponsoring the Syrian government. Come on. When are the Biden administration players going to realize we have to take this fight to Iran, at least to their proxies, not just one attack a week or one counterattack a week, but with some force and regularity that makes the price to Iran higher than anything they've seen so far?
Well, what does that look? I mean, other than I know congressional Republicans have moved to freeze the $6 billion that the Biden administration was going to turn over to the Iranians. That's still a drop in the bucket to what we're essentially providing in terms of the financing that comes from the oil exports that are not being properly sanctioned. But what is the play in response to this provocation, both to the United States and to commercial shipping? The commercial ships were also attacked in addition to a U.S. warship. So what's the proper response to Iran?
Well, I personally think we should be hitting Iranian targets. I know that's a little much for some people, and I don't think this administration has the stomach for it, but we should at the very least, after those missiles fired by the Houthis, which are totally bought and paid for by Iran, we should be taking out all of those targets in Yemen that the Houthis are using to operate from, and enable the Saudis to help us do it, which they would join in gladly because we're the ones who told them to stop fighting the Houthis before. We should be hitting all those targets around Syria that they have used to hit our people in the area in Syria and Iraq. And we should be looking specifically for targets where we know the IRGC advisory groups, their Spetsnaz equivalent, where they are stationed. So there is Iranian blood spilled, not necessarily in Iran, but in these other areas. If they're going to put their people out there to help enable these attacks by other folks, we should be taking out those other folks and the Iranian advisors that are guiding them.
But that sounds like it's going to lead to the beginning of World War III.
No, it won't. If we attacked Iran directly, you'd have a wider conflict. If we attack those proxy groups, no, it will not be. That would be even considered proportional by people like the UN. If we get attacked 60 times, hitting 1 or 2 or 3 targets is not proportional. That is impotent. And, we could do a lot more than we're doing without coming anywhere close to the kind of threshold of widening the conflict to bring in other nation states against us.
Turning to Eastern Europe, so Ukraine has again restated its position that the war doesn't end until they get all their land back, which I understand. But even I would characterize Richard Haass as, certainly more adventurous with American blood and money than I would be. Even Richard Haass, former head of Council on Foreign Relations, is suggested that it's time for Ukraine to cut a deal and essentially for America to intercede to prompt a deal to be cut. And so I wonder about this, with the passing of Henry Kissinger last week. He changed his position on Ukraine to the extent of NATO admission. And essentially, as I understand Kissinger's position, it was end this war as soon as possible and admit Ukraine to NATO as a deterrent on further Russian aggression. What do you think about what's coming from the foreign policy establishment in the form of both Richard Haass and the recently departed Henry Kissinger?
I agree with I disagree with Richard Haass on a lot of things, and it's really kind of daunting for any scholar in the international relations field to disagree with Henry Kissinger on things, even when he's dead. But I'm not sure we're quite ready to do that. I think I'm not sure that Ukraine's ever going to get the entire Crimea back, every bit of its territory back. I don't know. I think that's looking tough for them. But I'm not sure it's quite the time to pull back yet. It might be 6 months from now, might be a year from now. I'm not really sure. But I think we could continue to support Ukraine for a while longer, because otherwise Putin can spin this, at least in his own troubled head, that he has won, and that could embolden to do more. I'm not sure that admitting Ukraine to NATO right now would have quite the deterrent effect that Dr. Kissinger is indicating, because I'm not sure if we did that and a week later Russia did an offensive, that we would then say, okay, execute Article 5. I just don't think that will is there yet. I think there is still some will to continue to support logistically and materially and let Ukraine keep fighting for themselves. So I think that may be the way we go in the future, but I don't think we're quite there yet.
Stephen Bucci served America for 3 decades as an Army Special Forces officer and top Pentagon official. He's a visiting fellow in the Heritage Foundation's Allison Center for Foreign Policy Studies. Steve Bucci, thank you as always.
Thanks for having me, and we'll talk to you next week.
All right, thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
It's like a hot, steaming cup of information. To start your day, it's Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Testosterone levels are at an all-time low. Individual T levels decline 1% every year. Chalk, CHOQ, is the new champion of natural testosterone boosters. Chalk's main ingredient is clinically studied to naturally boost testosterone 20% in 90 days. Supercharge your masculinity and boost your daily energy with Chalk's Male Vitality Stack. For a limited time, our listeners will get 30% off at CHOQ.com with promo code USA. CHOQ.com, code USA.
This holiday season, Capital One reminds you to give yourself the gift of 1.5% cash back with the Capital One Quicksilver Card.
Can I earn 1.5% cash back on birds?
Birds?
What if you sent your true love 2 turtle doves plus a partridge in a pear tree?
Sure, but why would anyone want that?
The song was very convincing.
Earn 1.5% cash back on all your holiday purchases with the Capital One Quicksilver Card. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details.
Oh, yeah. Are you a business owner or department head already planning for 2024? If you're like most businesses in Chicagoland, you've probably had a challenging year with sustaining revenue, hiring new recruits, and keeping operating costs at bay. Maybe you've had a great year and you want to build the momentum in the months to come. Well, whether your business faces obstacles like financial setbacks, fierce competition, IT nightmares, and unforeseen crisis, it's not all about the challenges you face. It is how you overcome them and the people you partner with. With decades of C-suite experience from their consulting team to over 25 years of managed IT services, our good friends at Turnkey IT, they know small business. They know how to reduce your costs, grow new revenue streams, and more without having to hire on-site professionals. So set yourself and your business up for success. Let Turnkey show you how. Turnkey is Chicago's small business champion. Visit turnkey.pro to start a conversation today. That's turnkey.pro.
I'm attorney Stephen Leahy. You may have heard me on the radio sharing information about taxes, the IRS, or some other legal topic. Over these many years, I've learned quite a lot about helping business owners. It's pretty complicated out there. Business owners must always be learning just to keep up. So I've put together an email newsletter where I share information with business owners for free. That's right, no charge. All you have to do is go to radiotaxman.com and provide your email address. That's it. You may wonder why I would do that. Well, I know business owners are going to need help now and again. Tax returns, IRS trouble, business structuring, tax planning, and a whole lot more. I also know that if I share accurate, important information with you, information you can trust, you may give me an opportunity to help you. That's it. You don't have to ask for my help, but I want to offer it to you. Pretty simple. Go to radiotaxman.com right now and sign up for my email newsletter. That's radiotaxman.com. It's free. Together we can fight back now.
If you're self-employed and purchase your own health insurance, I have some great news. From now until January 15th, the health insurance exchanges are open again. And even if you've never qualified for a health insurance subsidy before, you most likely will now. The American Rescue Plan expanded subsidy eligibility to millions of Americans who have never qualified before, even to those with high income levels. And this year, you can purchase a multi-state PPO policy, which includes access to Northwestern Medical Group, as well as other teaching hospitals around the nation. Employers who provide small group coverage also have new options, and so do seniors looking for Medicare supplement coverage. Call me. I can help.
If you're tired of calling a bureaucrat at an 800 number to help you navigate Obamacare, then you need a local expert on your side. C. Stephen Tucker from HealthInsuranceMentors.com is someone I know and trust. He's a 25-year licensed broker who's been educating our listeners for more than 10 years. Steve, how can our listeners get in touch with you?
Thanks, Dan. They can visit HealthInsuranceMentors.com or call me directly at 630-674-1551.
Hi, this is Dennis Prager for the good people at BestHotGrill.com. It's that time again. Time to select presents for your family and corporate gifts for your best clients and employees. And you want to get them a gift that is fantastic, unforgettable, and truly hot. That would be a Solaire Infrared Grill from BestHotGrill.com. Solaire Infrared Grills heat up to 1,000 degrees in just 3 minutes and produce juicy, tasty food unmatched by conventional grills, perfect for today's busy lifestyles. The hot and fast Solaire Infrared Grills are the gift that will be used. And every time your loved one's best clients and valued employees grill on their Solaire infrared grill, they'll think of you. All Solaire infrared grills are made in the USA and made to last. Even more importantly, Solaire infrared grills deliver the wow that everybody likes to receive in a gift. Learn more about the amazing Solaire infrared grills at besthotgrills.com. That's besthotgrills.com. Solaire infrared gift giving at besthotgrill.com.
Let's see, if something costs less, but people are happier with it, that sounds like something to look into, and that is MediShare. Maybe you've heard switching to MediShare to pay for healthcare can save many families up to $500 a month, and that is huge. But it's also true that people are way more satisfied after making the switch, too. The member satisfaction rate for MediShare is double that of the typical health insurance plan. Double. MediShare works, too. It's been around for 30 years. Members have shared more than $5 billion of each other's bills. People love having telehealth and a huge nationwide PPO network. So, yeah, really, you can save a ton and like it better. Imagine being happy with how you're taking care of your health care. So if you're self-employed or part of the gig economy, or you just want a plan you're happy with, you can call right now. You'll get a price within 2 minutes. So see what you can save. This is a very, very smart use of 2 minutes. Here's the number you need. Call 844-47-BIBLE. That's 844-47-BIBLE. 844-47-BIBLE.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. You have a true partnership with a team that is invested in your success. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
I'm Kevin Bastuga, co-founder of Signature Bank. There's no better place to be for the holidays than Chicago. Signature Bank is wishing you a safe, healthy, and happy holiday season.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Let Signature Bank turn your business vision into reality this holiday season. Visit signaturebank.bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender. Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. It's a bank where relationships still matter. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
And this is Brian Duncan, co-founder of Signature Bank. We wish you the very best this holiday season from Signature Bank, Chicago's business bank.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Let Signature Bank turn your business vision into reality this holiday season. Visit signaturebank.bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Fresh off of his star turn at our Freedom Summit last month, Scott McKay, publisher of The Hayride, joins us to talk POTUS politics at 7:37.
But first, we're going to stop by that newsroom. Excuse me. Here is Mike Scott.
7:31, 32 degrees. And Iranian-backed Houthi rebels are claiming responsibility for attacks carried out in the Red Sea Sunday. Texas Congressman Ronnie Jackson weighed in on Fox and Friends, saying it was necessary for the USS Carney to shoot down several drones that officials say were launched from Houthi-controlled parts of Yemen. The chair of the House Intelligence Committee says it could have been a breakdown in intelligence in Israel that helped allow Hamas's October 7th surprise terror attack.
It's been amazing to have our intelligence committee now working closely with the Israeli intelligence committee and see the gaps that they have.
Speaking on CBS's Face the Nation, Congressman Mike Turner did have high praise for CIA Director William Burns on negotiating for the release of hostages. The attorney for former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin says he's now been released from the hospital and returned to federal prison in Arizona. Chauvin was stabbed nearly 24 times by an inmate late last month. Finalists for the Heisman Trophy will be announced tonight. Players in the mix for this year's Heisman include Oregon quarterback Bo Nix, Washington quarterback Michael Penix Jr., and Florida State QB Jordan Travis. Chicago police and fire investigating a blaze that occurred at the historic Swift Mansion in Bronzeville. The blaze broke out yesterday on the third floor of the building in the 4500 block of South Michigan Avenue. That fire was put out before firefighters were called back to the address in the afternoon after the flames rekindled. Owner James Otis believes he knows the cause.
We believe somebody did it intentionally because they were upset with having to leave because we're finna renovate.
The historic home was built in 1892. One man is dead following a shooting over the weekend at a hotel in Oak Brook Terrace. Police say the shots were fired Saturday night at the Hilton Chicago Oakbrook Suites Hotel. Investigators found Calvin Truitt with gunshot wounds before he died at a nearby hospital. The News is a service of In Grace with Pastor Jim Scudder Jr. Now heard Sunday mornings at 6:30 on AM 560 The Answer. Tune in as Jim Scudder explores God's Word right here on AM 560 The Answer. And a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Dennis Prager says there's only one choice.
It's not surprising to me the left has destroyed the conscience of a vast number of people. More and more Americans are being, quote, neutral. To be neutral between Hamas and Israel is to forfeit moral seriousness.
The Dennis Prager Show. Weekdays at 11, right before Charlie Kirk at 1 on AM 560. The Answer.
Amy Jacobson and Dan Proft here, and we want to tell you about an opportunity for you to promote your business and to make a difference this Christmas season.
We're talking about our Food for the Poor Business Benefactor Program. We've partnered with Food for the Poor to provide life-saving food for thousands of children and their families in Latin America and the Caribbean during this season of economic decline, unemployment, and rising food costs.
Food for the Poor is working with local partners to make sure these children and their families get the food they need to survive. And guess what? Your business can be a part of the solution. Become a Food for the Poor business benefactor by making a $2,500 tax-deductible donation to Food for the Poor. And thanks to a generous match, that donation will help feed more than 30 children for an entire year.
When you do that, AM 560 will give you 40 one-minute commercials to air here on AM 560 The Answer between 5 a.m. and 8 p.m. Monday through Friday at no additional cost to you.
Call Anjanette Natowski at 847-472-8951. Again, that's 847-472-8951. Or go to 560theanswer.com and click on the Give Food banner.
Hi, everybody. I'm Kathy Lee Gifford, and I've been around a long time. Every one of us, as we age, realizes that things are changing in our bodies, in the world around us. Lots of times I don't like what's happening, so what can I do about it? Well, the one thing we can do is pray, right? The other thing we can do is take better care of ourselves. I do that by taking Balance of Nature because I'm not really good at nutrition. I'm too busy, I'm on the run, and I don't eat enough vegetables, and I certainly don't eat enough fruit. And when I take Balance of Nature, I can feel good that I've done something for myself that I can actually control. So take control. Get Balance of Nature.
Celebrate Christmas with us. Go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer to get 35% off your first order, plus a free fiber and spice supplement. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this exclusive holiday offer by using discount code KLG.
As a business owner, do you have a strategy for exiting your business? Most business owners don't. Studies done by the Exit Planning Institute show 75% of business owners who don't have an exit plan are dissatisfied with their exit, and 80% of businesses put to market never sell. Total Clarity Wealth Management understands the hesitation to discuss exiting. Will customers leave? Will competitors take advantage? Will key employees leave? That's why they offer confidential planning. Contact Anne Marie at Total Clarity Wealth Management. Discover what the financial foundation should be to pursue an exit that is satisfying. At some point, you are going to leave your business. Will it be on your terms? Total Clarity can show you the way to financial readiness and keep you on track. Anne Marie is a certified exit planning advisor. Visit TotalClarityBusiness.com. That's TotalClarityBusiness.com. Securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advice offered through Total Clarity Wealth Management, Inc., a registered investment advisor and separate entity from LPL Financial.
The holiday season is right around the corner. Give the gift that's hard to wrap, but easy to give. Give them a Steel. Visit your local Steel dealer or go to steelusa.com/gift guide.
7:38. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. We'll start on the Edens, where it's now 42 minutes and climbing Lake Cook Road into the junction. On the Kennedy now, an hour 13 from O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. The Ike, it's an hour 5 inbound from 390 into the old post office. Stevens in 15 minutes from 355 into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. 28 on the inbound Dan Ryan 95th into the Burns Circle interchange. Tri-State accident, 2 left lanes blocked. It's on the northbound side of 294 between the Stevenson all the way up to right before 47, the site of the accident. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Now your official Chicagoland weather forecast. Cloudy, breaks of sun through the midday and afternoon with a high near 40. Cloudy and the rain and snow kick in overnight. A low of 32, more rain and snow in the early morning daylight hours tomorrow. Otherwise, it will remain cloudy through the afternoon with a high of 40. Currently 32 at O'Hare, cloudy and 36 at Midway. Your next news update is at 8. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment brought to you by Unleash Your Wealth with Raj Shah and Rick Borick this Saturday at 7 a.m. and 2 p.m. Learn more at scwealthadvisors.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson. America First with Sebastian Gorka, weekday afternoons at 3 on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. So both Trump and DeSantis were in Iowa this weekend.
6 weeks to go until the Iowa caucus.
Trump was rallying the faithful in Cedar Rapids. Ron DeSantis was knocking out his 99th county. So now he's had events in all 99 counties in Iowa, and he's touting his ground game as the X factor that people don't see in the polling, combined with the support he has from some institutional heavyweights in Iowa, the governor, Kim Reynolds, the evangelical leader, Bob Vander Plaats. That's how he's going to close the gap and engineer a surprise victory come January 15th.
And ultimately, Republican voters are going to have the choice of Donald Trump, which I think would make the election a referendum on him and a lot of the issues that he's dealing with, or me. And that will be a referendum on Biden's failures, on all the issues in the country that are affecting people, and I'll be able to stand for a positive vision going forward. We have a much better chance if we're doing it with me as the candidate. I'd also be able to serve 2 terms, and I'm more likely to actually get a lot of this stuff done. But those are the choices, realistically, for Republican voters.
And on that Meet the Press interview yesterday, he said a couple of times, I'm going to win the Iowa caucus. I mean, what else is he going to say? But, I mean, he is expressing confidence, and there's no give, and he seems like he's committed to running through Iowa, regardless if he wins or not. For more on this, particularly that market positioning, the question he offered, the framing he did there, which is, if it's Trump, it's a referendum on Trump. We want it to be a referendum on the incumbent, which most elections are. And if it's me, it's a referendum on Biden and all of his failures. Is that persuasive, or does that at least give people some pause for further reflection before they make their decisions in these early states? Well, let's put that question to our friend Scott McKay, fresh off of his star turn, as I said, at our Freedom Summit last month. It's a big day.
Still riding the high.
Oh, it was a big day for him.
It is.
Big day. Coming out party for Scott McKay. He's the publisher of The Hayride, contributing editor at the American Spectator, author of The Revivalist Manifesto, which has been targeted for elimination by CNN. We'll talk about that, too. Scott, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. And
So-
I will say this. It was a little cold for a coming out party, frankly.
Yeah, right. Yeah, well, we're not Louisiana anymore, kid. All right,
Yeah,
what about DeSantis and Iowa and the ground game and the prospect of even having a surprise performance that, you know, a narrow second-place finish, much less winning? What are the prospects?
Well, I will see. I don't think that anything DeSantis is doing is I don't criticize any of it. I don't know how much of it makes a difference. You know, I mean, I still think that this is Donald Trump's Republican electorate. I think that DeSantis has a problem in that his people are Trump's people, and they like Trump better than DeSantis, at least for now. And I don't know that that's going to change in 6 weeks. I don't think he's dead in the water. I think he probably posts better numbers in Iowa than, the 10 or 15% that some of these polls have him. But, if Trump gets 50, I don't know that it matters.
Yeah, but look at, what this reminds me of, him hitting his 99th county in Iowa. Reminds me of Rick Santorum, because he used to stop by the station here in a pickup truck and then drive to every county. And he won the Iowa caucus back in 2012, beating Mitt Romney.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
but 2012 was so different. I mean, this is such an anomaly because you have a former president and a former president facing 4 indictments, no less. I think it's difficult. I know Vander Platz's record of endorsing winners in the Iowa caucus, but I just think this is just a completely different kettle of fish.
Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, I think what you're really doing, whether you want to admit it or not, or whether you're wittingly doing it or not, if you're Ron DeSantis, is you're running for 2028. You're making yourself the heir apparent, after Trump is done, which is, I think, what Gavin Newsom is doing on the Democrat side, which is why they had that debate, this past weekend. I think, you're setting yourself up as, okay, I'm going to do a couple more years as the governor of Florida, and then I'm kind of the number one free agent on the American political scene in 2028. And, realistically, that's what you're doing. I don't know whether that's what DeSantis' inner sanctum is doing at the moment. You're not going to admit it publicly, at least until after, such time as you drop out of the race. But, I think that's what he's up to. And, I'd much rather it be Ron DeSantis in 2028 than Nikki Haley. So if this is what he's up to, then I'm okay with it. I never have seen a path forward for DeSantis if Trump was going to be in the race. Because, you're just not going to choose Trump 2.0 over Trump 1.0 when people still think there's gas left in the tank for Trump 1.0.
Trump 1.0 had a moment this weekend after that debate you just mentioned between DeSantis and Newsom where he could have been magnanimous. And instead he chose to post parodies of DeSantis, Newsom, that debate and ridicule him, or his campaign did. But, he wears the jacket for it. And it just seems to me that he could have done, and maybe this is just me, trying to bring people together, as is my want. But he could have said, great performance by DeSantis, and the difference between the red state model of governance and the socialist model of governance, as Gavin Newsom has demonstrated in California, is night and day. One is a successful model, and the other is unsuccessful, and you have to lie pathologically to defend it, as Gavin Newsom did on that debate stage with Hannity and DeSantis. And he could have said this, I'm proud of Florida. I'm proud of what's gone on in the last 4 years. He could have even said, thanks in large part to my support of DeSantis in 2018. It just seemed like a moment where he could stop parroting some of the lies of Gavin Newsom about Ron DeSantis' record and just rise above. And I think it probably would serve him well in Iowa, whether he needs it or not.
Oh, I agree. Trump has not behaved well toward DeSantis. And to some extent, when he unloaded on him, there was a time when he was bleeding a little bit of support to DeSantis. And, when he unloaded on him, I think he foreclosed any more of that. But once you've done that, I think it's time to be the bigger guy. And that's not really Trump's thing, right? I mean, Trump is a guy that if it's a fight, then he's got the brass knuckles and he's going to take you out. And some of that is just, that's a guy from Queens and that's the way the way they roll. And so I think that's baked into the cake. But I mean, at some point, this thing has got to be bigger than just you. And it doesn't do anybody any good for him to completely tear DeSantis down for all time. And I think most Trump supporters, whether they're going to vote for DeSantis or not, don't want to see the guy destroyed as a political entity. So,
well, especially when you're saying,
stop.
especially when you're saying things about him, like his record on COVID or his record on job creation or whatever.
Right.
Trump just said things about the DeSantis record that are as untrue as the things that Gavin Newsom said on that and during that debate on Thursday night, and it's just not right.
Agreed.
And he has an opportunity to correct it, and it's just it continues. I know what you said is true. That's not his nature, but the skillful leader will find a way to get to that right place if he hasn't been in it to this point.
Well, it's just, to me, if I'm Trump, and maybe he doesn't want to do this because she's a woman, if I'm Trump, the one that I'm going to attack, if I'm going to attack anybody, is Haley, because she represents the kind of republicanism that Donald Trump, was a departure from, and that the party needs to get away from. And so that's a substantial critique. That's not, I'm going to go after DeSantis and I'm going to make fun of his cowboy boots because he's got lifts in them and all this kind. Like, all of that stuff is high school garbage politics. And
calling him Ron
like the country. Yeah, the country is in dire straits. We don't need that stuff, especially when it really doesn't move the needle. I mean, Trump's over 50 in all of these polls of the Republican electorate. Tearing down people who are at 10 when you're over 50 is like, that's dumb. Go after Democrats. Let's talk about the future of the country. And what this is really, we're talking about, beating up people, and it's really Trump talking about himself. And I don't mind him talking about himself, but let's do that in a way where we're actually helping the team.
Well,
so I don't like it either.
Yeah, the other thing, too, is, that this whole I supported Ron DeSantis and this is disloyal, and now he's sanctimonious, and Nikki Haley's a bird brain. That's what he's called her. Well,
right.
That goes both ways. So, right, you gave Nikki Haley a job and raised her profile. You backed Ron DeSantis, and that helped him in the primary in 2018. But, I mean, so
right.
you backed him, and you said great things about him until he ran against you. And you had, a love fest when Nikki Haley was walking out the door as U.S. ambassador to the UN and had nothing but glowing things to say. And she was your personnel decision. So, if they're bird brains and sanctimonious, well, those were your judgment calls back in the day, weren't they?
Right. Well, and, one of the critiques of Trump is that he doesn't hire well, right? So, this actually enforces that. And I don't think it's a great look. I mean, look, you can deal with that criticism. All right. But there's no point in doing it when you're over 50 in these polls. Right. I mean, it looks uncalculated. It looks like, like he's just flying by the seat of his pants.
Well,
and a guy who spent 4 years as president, I think he needs to be a little bit more strategic if he's going to carry the standard.
I wanted to get to the Revivalist Manifesto, your book. It's got a foreword from House Speaker Mike Johnson, and that has drawn the ire of CNN because this is
right.
because now you're a white Christian nationalist threat to our democracy too.
Well, so in case your listeners don't know about this, I've been friends with Mike Johnson for well more than a decade. Okay, like before he even got into politics, I was friends with him. So a year ago when I wrote the Revivalist Manifesto, I asked him, hey, here's this book that I've written. You want to write the foreword? So he reads the book and he's like, oh, man, this is exactly the stuff I'm talking about in terms of what the future of the country needs to be and, how the Republican Party needs to change to make that happen. So he writes the foreword. And, the book does okay. All of a sudden, Johnson becomes speaker, and I'm like, he wrote the foreword for my book. It's probably relevant now. And lo and behold, CNN, uses that book as a means to attack Johnson. And the interesting is Saturday, I checked the Amazon page for the book. Lo and behold, it's #1 in comparative politics.
There you go.
So, like,
Thank you, CNN.
Congratulations.
I had to email Andrew Kaczynski, who's the reporter for CNN that wrote this thing, and said, look, the next time you're down in Louisiana, let me know. I'll buy you dinner. You've made me a whole lot of money. And then I told him, look, no, he hasn't. But I also said, by the way, I've got a new book out, Racism, Revenge, and Ruin. It's all Obama, and you'll hate that even more than you hate Revivalist Manifesto. And I really want you to attack that book as well and run it up to number one.
Any relation to Ted?
He hadn't responded, so we'll see what happens. But the lesson from this is two things. Number one, do not fear the left trying to cancel you, because that's actually a plus now. It is not a negative. These people are not effective, and the damage that they can do to you is much less than you think. So play over the top of them every chance that you get. And the second thing is, none of this stuff is substantive. All of the things that they wrote about the Revivalist Manifesto, are like they didn't read the book. They did a keyword search on the book and said, oh, here's something homophobic, and here's something we can say is racist, and here's this and here's that. The book is about big things. It's not, a collection of insults against Democratic politicians, although if that's your thing, you will definitely find those in there. I mean, but they didn't read the book, and they didn't go for any of the actual substantive things that they could have said about the book that from a left-wing perspective are, dangerous. They didn't do any of that. They just did a drive-by hit piece on the book.
Wonderful. Congratulations. Maybe you can get Andrew Kaczynski to give you a jacket blurb for the new book. Scott,
I'll ask him. I think maybe you'll say yes.
Scott McKay, publisher of The Hayride, contributing editor at the American Spectator, author of the newly minted number one, The Revivalist Manifesto. Pick it up. Make Andrew Kaczynski unhappy. Scott, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Listen to podcasts of Dan and Amy from the AM 560 mobile app. Download it today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
Do you have a home remodeling project you'd love to get done? This is your opportunity to lock in this year's pricing with Chicago's Design Build Dream Team. Forever Remodeling is now offering exceptional savings. Simply sign on by December 31st to avoid any price increases next year. At Forever Remodeling, their expert designers and installers will turn your dreams into reality. Act now and you'll not only protect yourself from future price increases, but also beat the rush and secure a preferred spot in their schedule. Call 847-809-3355 or visit foreverremodeling.com. Highly skilled to design and build.
Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson here. And if you're a small business owner or you make the marketing or advertising decisions for a business, then this message is for you.
Our annual Food for the Poor campaign is underway. And this year we're helping to raise money for children and their families in Latin America and the Caribbean who are desperate for access to food.
Millions of people, including many children, are suffering during this season of economic decline, unemployment, and rising food prices.
Here's how you and your business can be part of the solution. Become a Food for the Poor business benefactor. Just make a $2,500 tax-deductible donation to Food for the Poor, and AM 560 will give you 40 one-minute commercials to air here on AM 560 The Answer between 5 a.m. and 8 p.m. Monday through Friday at no additional cost to you.
It's the best deal in all of Chicago radio.
Just call Anjanette Natowski at 847-472-8951. Again, that's 847-472-8951, or go to 560theanswer.com/food for the poor.
Wednesday, the final GOP debate of the year is on News Nation, America's fastest growing cable news network. SiriusXM's Megyn Kelly, News Nation's Elizabeth Vargas, and the Washington Free Beacon's Eliana Johnson moderate a live primetime event from the University of Alabama as the candidates make their case to America on the only network for all America, the News Nation Republican Primary Debate. Live Wednesday, 8 Eastern. To find News Nation on your TV, go to joinnn.com.
Hello, my name is Gina. When I first found out that I was pregnant, I was in a very dark place. I was living out of my car or on the streets, working as a dancer at a nightclub, heavily into drugs and alcohol, and I didn't know how I was going to deal with having a child. You know, people look at someone living like I was and say, that's why we need abortion. I didn't need an abortion. What I needed was help. So Aid for Women helped me move into Heather's house. They gave me everything. A place to stay, clothes, food, a listening ear, help with my daughter, everything. To learn more about my story, watch my video, and support this great organization, go to helpaidforwomen.org. That's helpaidforwomen.org. You can help save lives and souls like mine from abortion today.
Aid for Women offers women real choice. They really do terrific pro-life work. Please step up and support this great organization. Go to helpaidforwomen.org.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
At 8:08, Texas Governor Greg Abbott is organizing a posse to deal with illegal immigration. That's 8:08.
Now let's head into the newsroom for news here at home and around the world. The one and only Mike Scott. Good morning, Mike.
An arson investigation is underway after a fire at the historic Swift Mansion. A man shot and killed by police in Elk Grove Village. A Des Plaines man is accused of threatening a DeKalb County judge. WIND Chicago News Time is 8 o'clock.
The U.S. goes on the attack in the Middle East. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News, going after Iran-backed militants in Iraq, killing 5 of them in a drone strike. A defense official tells Fox it happened after those militants were seen preparing an attack suspected to be targeting Americans after 75 prior attempted attacks on U.S. forces in Iraq and Syria. Republican Congressman Pat Fallon tells Fox Business we haven't retaliated enough.
You know what about bullies and terrorists? If you do nothing, they'll hit you more. They'll continue to do so, just like a bully would. You have to stand up, and there has to be repercussions.
The U.S. was also engaged in the Red Sea.
The U.S. Navy says it shot down 3 drones in a multi-layered wave of attacks by Iranian proxies earlier Sunday. Houthi rebels claim their drones were firing at commercial ships that are linked to Israel.
Fox's Anita Vogel. The war rages in Gaza after the ceasefire ended.
We just ran for cover about a minute ago as there was incoming fire here along the Israel-Gaza border.
Fox's Trey Yings says Israel shot them down.
Now, the Israelis say overnight they hit 200 different targets inside Gaza, bringing the total number since the war began to more than 10,000.
Israel's also going after Hamas targets in the south of Gaza, urging Palestinians to evacuate, though some of them already displaced say there's nowhere to go. The U.S. has been pressuring Israel to reduce civilian casualties in Gaza, but that is not enough for some pro-Palestinian Democrats.
Standing behind a lectern reading Abandon Biden, Ceasefire Now, Muslim community leaders from Michigan, Minnesota, Arizona, Wisconsin, Florida, Georgia, Nevada, and Pennsylvania pledged to withdraw support of President Biden.
Fox's Jared Halpern at the White House. Police in Dallas, Texas keep searching for a killer the day after a shooting at a house. 3 adults and a 1-year-old boy were killed. A 15-year-old girl survived and is in a hospital. It happened the same day. A man in New York City murdered 4 relatives in a Queens home, 2 of them kids. He then stabbed 2 police officers as he left. They're expected to recover. One of them shot and killed the killer. America's listening to Fox News.
32 degrees. At 8:02 on AM 560, The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. 2 young children are among 4 people hurt following a crash that involved a police vehicle on Chicago's South Side. The vehicle ran a red light last night and struck a squad car in the 200 block of West 47th. Detectives are investigating after a man was beaten and stabbed in Chicago's River North neighborhood. Police say the victim was walking on the sidewalk yesterday in the 400 block of North Clark when he was approached by a group of males. He was again struck and then stabbed and then taken to the hospital in good condition. A Des Plaines man is accused of threatening a DeKalb County judge. Jesse Christian is charged with disorderly conduct and harassment by telephone charges. Police say Christian left numerous voicemails of a threatening nature against a state's attorney and that DeKalb County judge. Chicago police are investigating a fire at the historic Swift Mansion in the Bronzeville neighborhood as arson. Fire Captain John Giordano.
A lot of fire up in the attic, so there was extensive salvage and overhaul. It escalated, there was still in box alarm, so we had approximately 55 fire personnel on scene with EMS.
That fire was put out before firefighters were recalled to the address in the afternoon as flames rekindled. The historic home was built in 1892 and added to the National Register of Historic Places in 1978. The news, a service of Townstone Financial. Should you buy a new home? Can you afford it? Can you pay off credit cards using your home? Townstone.com has the answers, or call 312-896-2110. AM 560 news time is 8:04. It's time for the AM 560 Business Beat, a service of Signature Bank. Visit signaturebank.bank for all your commercial banking needs. Now the latest from the Fox Business Network.
I'm Elizabeth McDonald, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Streaming giant Spotify says it's cutting nearly a fifth of its workforce, about 1,500 people around the world, in its third round of layoffs this year. CEO Daniel Ek, in a message to employees posted on the company's blog, said the jobs were being cut as part of a strategic reorientation. Spotify has expanded its podcasting and audiobooks and struck expensive deals with well-known figures such as the Obamas and Prince Harry and his wife Meghan Markle. And while the shifts have helped Spotify attract listeners and subscribers, it's struggled to become consistently profitable. Alaska Air has reached a roughly $1.9 billion deal to buy Hawaiian Airlines. The airlines will retain their separate brands, but said together they'll have broader reach. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Lillian Wu, invested in you.
AM 560 news time is 8:05. A check of traffic and weather coming up next on AM 560.
Charlie Kirk says there's a reason.
Well, the people in the region, it would make really a lot of sense, right? Does Egypt or Jordan want these people? Do the people of the Middle East want the Hamas sympathizers? Okay, so you don't want to do that because you know that the people of Gaza have been radicalized throughout the years.
The Charlie Kirk Show, afternoons at 1, right before Sebastian Gorka at 3 on AM 560. The Answer.
Right now is a really good time to get your student loans under control. There are so many people that we talk to every day who tell us that they just feel so much anxiety and overwhelmed by their student loans. But once they pick up that phone and call us, and we're able to give them a plan and a strategy that may lower their payment by hundreds of dollars, sometimes thousands of dollars, and may actually get their loans forgiven. The point is just to give people some clarity and control over their situation so that they know that whatever the payment is, whatever the plan is, there actually is a plan, and that plan is going to save them the most amount of money. I'm Ray Kaplan, and I can help you get debt-free, stress-free. Give us a call at 312-294-8989 or visit us at financialrelief.com.
With the holidays upon us, the increase in traveling, shopping, and connecting online also heightens the need to protect your identity and finances with LifeLock. Identity thieves see this time of year as an opportunity to drain your accounts, open new loans in your name, and damage your financial future. LifeLock detects and alerts you to the threats you might miss on your own. Don't let the busy holiday season catch you off guard. Save up to 25% off your first year with promo code CLAY. LifeLock.com, promo code CLAY.
The Tunnel to Towers Foundation delivers on its promise to do good and never forget the sacrifices of America's greatest heroes. Heroes who risk their lives for our communities and our country. Heroes like United States Marine Corps Captain and pilot John Jeremy Sachs. He sustained fatal injuries when his military aircraft crashed during training. Tunnel to Towers provided his wife and 2 daughters with a mortgage-free home. Join Tunnel to Towers on its mission to do good in their honor. Donate $11 a month at T2T.org.
8:08. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. And we start on the Kennedy this morning. 1 hour and 14 minutes into the Burns Circle interchange. The Ike-In, an hour 5, 390 to the old post office. Stevenson inbound, jammed up from 355 all the way in to DuSable Lakeshore Drive. That's a 48-minute commute. 30 minutes in from 95th into the Burns Circle interchange. Tri-State jammed up northbound, mainly in the locals between the Reagan and the Ike. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast with Steve Williams.
Clouds and some breaks of sun. Our high today 40. Rain or snow showers around this evening. Little to no accumulation, low 32. A bit of snow and rain at times tomorrow morning. Again, no accumulation. The high tomorrow at 40. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560. The Answer.
And 32 and mostly cloudy at O'Hare. Your next news update is at 8:30. Breaking news as it happens. And Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560. The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Health Quest Radio with Dr. David Kolbaba. Saturday mornings at 11. Visit healthquestradio.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. When it comes to border security, Texas Governor Greg Abbott is doing more than just about anybody else, surely more than the federal government is doing. He's constructing more
water
wall.
buoys? Oh, more wall? Okay, that's good.
Constructing more wall. He's put water buoys in the Rio Grande as a
Loved it.
hindrance. And he also announced on Maria Bartiromo show over the weekend that he's moving legislation to essentially organize a statewide posse when it comes to combating illegal immigration. Take a listen.
Because of the wall that we have built, because of these razor wire barriers that we have built, Texas is now no longer the number one illegal entry point. It is the Tucson sector, the San Diego sector, and other states. And Texas is causing the cartels to have to alter their routes, their routes where people are coming across the border illegally. That said, Texas is having to step up and do even more to make sure that we deny illegal entry into the state of Texas. And as a result, Maria, in 2 weeks, I'll be signing a new law in the state of Texas that will make it illegal for people to enter the state of Texas from another country illegally, and authorizing every peace officer in the state of Texas to arrest those people entering our country illegally.
Interesting, making trespassing in Texas a state-level offense, essentially trying to get around the issue of relying on federal law and federal law enforcement. What do you think about that idea? Rather than the push to end sort of the titular nature of Illinois being a sanctuary state, Chicago being a sanctuary city, pushing substantive legislation in that direction that scrambles law enforcement throughout the state. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line, 64636-DA, turnkey.pro text line.
I think that's brilliant, but you got to get the Arizona governor along with that and the California governor, and I don't think Katie Hobbs or Gavin Newsom's going to join them in that fight.
Well, that's up to Katie Hobbs and Gavin Newsom. Greg Abbott's doing what he can do in the state over which he is the executive, right?
Yep. Oh, yeah. I mean, but he could be pushing the illegals to, now that's going to happen in Texas, so we're going to go through it in Nogales and Tijuana. But, good for him.
Well,
for doing something at least.
It would have some applicability in Illinois, it seems. For example, in 2021, a total of 6 Venezuelans were arrested for crimes in Chicago. 6. In 2023, 700 Venezuelans have been arrested in Chicago. And, of course, they're not being arrested because they're here illegally. They're here. No. They were arrested because they committed crimes, so they victimized somebody. And this is what Greg Abbott is moving to stem. And isn't that the responsibility of government at every level to provide for the public safety?
And in normal states, like when Maricopa County Sheriff Joe Arpaio was there, they'd serve their sentence for the crime they committed and then immediately handed over to ICE when they left prison. And then they were deported. But we don't have that here.
Well, and this is getting a little bit more dicey than just domestic crime, because we know from reports from the border the number of individuals from countries that are hostile to America who've entered and gotten away. We know that there have been dozens of individuals that are suspected terrorists that have entered, and we don't know where they are. And we see this playing out in other countries right now. The Eiffel Tower stabbing death, a 23-year-old tourist, Filipino tourist, was murdered near the Eiffel Tower in France, in Paris, of course. And this was done by someone who affiliates with the Islamic State, ISIS. In the Philippines, Marawi City, terrorists threw a grenade at a Catholic mass, killing 4, wounding 50.
There were hundreds of people at that mass, too.
There was another Islamist terrorist attack on that was planned on a Christmas event, foiled in Germany. There have been the stabbing attacks in Dublin, in rural France, where a teenager was murdered. So the point here is that you're starting to see a resurgence of Islamist-related violence, even after 20 years of our blood and treasure being spent trying to dismantle these Islamo-fascist terrorist organizations. You still have the one-offs. Maybe the argument would be, as it was at the time, well, by demonize, I mean, this is their language, by demonizing radical Islamists, you're just minting new extremists. Well, by opening the borders and not having any controls on who's coming in, what their intentions are, what their backgrounds are, you're providing a glide path for people who have terrorism on their minds, potentially, to commit acts like we're seeing around the world in places that have sort of lost control of their country because of their multicultural ideology.
312-642-5600. Turnkey.pro answer line 64636. Type in DA, then a quick comment. Dan and Amy, forget the part about having them turned over to ICE. We don't even prosecute them here in Chicago.
Well, I understand. You mean prosecute them for domestic crimes?
Right.
Well, just like, I mean, we treat them like we treat the indigenous population.
Right.
So, you know.
Safety Act applies to them too, folks.
There's our equal treatment under the law. Nobody gets prosecuted.
One of my favorite Safety Act, when this one guy, he was stealing mail from people in Lakeview and in Lincoln Park, and he was supposed to show up for his hearing. And guess what he was doing, Dan, when he was supposed to be at his hearing? He was stealing bank cards and people's mail in the same neighborhood. Yeah. Safety Act's working very well. Love it.
You know, and it's really difficult. This came over the transom over the weekend, too. Meloni, the prime minister in Italy, who vowed to end illegal migration, she even promised a naval blockade. But the reporting is that in the past 12 months, 200,000 migrants from Africa stormed the small Italian island of Lampedusa, which has 6,000 residents. 200,000 migrants and a small island of 6,000 residents. And she essentially has done nothing. And a lot of Italians now see this as a betrayal. So, you know, we need to follow what people say when they're campaigning and what they do if they're successful in securing office, particularly on this issue. And it's getting pretty dicey.
You got to see that video too, though. Have you seen it where they're just storming? There's people on the beach, and then locals just freezing up and watching them run past them.
And again, not to belabor the point, but this is not a statement in opposition to legal migration. This is not a statement in opposition to immigrants from any particular country. It's a statement in support for the rule of law and for processes and for us to have some thresholds that need to be cleared to gain legal entry into this country. I say again, it was ironic last week that now there's a processing center that's been set up for migrants arriving in Chicago near the Maxwell Street Market. So it's almost like Chicago's port of entry. So now, after being beset, you know, the city not being able to handle 21,000 people coming here from, you know, after crossing the border, 21,000 people in a city of 2.7 million as compared to 200,000 in an island of 6,000. I mean, can you imagine? But now they're trying to set up processes and penalties for people that don't follow the processes, sort of like what we should have at the border. But we're still a welcoming city, they tell us, despite having a process set up to try to provide some form to the function. And if we try to do the same thing at the border, we're racist and xenophobes. Okay, sure. Catherine in DuPage, formerly of DuPage.
Good morning, you two, and allow me to officially announce I have escaped from the state of Illinois to Northwest Indiana, joining quite a few callers that I hear about.
Yes.
A little aside that I'm throwing in here. Now and then I listen to this goofy station down the band, and they're discussing lawsuits against Abbott for his shipping the illegals to Illinois and other states. And it reminds me of how mentally insane these people are. It's just exasperating all around. Have a good week.
Yeah, I mean, I was at that press conference when Governor Pritzker's like, we're going to try and get him on human trafficking. It's laughable, and Governor Newsom said the same thing 2 hours later.
Interestingly, some more suburbs of Chicago are taking action to prevent their communities from falling prey to the same thing that Chicago has invited. So in addition to Rosemont now, we have Schaumburg and Elk Grove Village that are limiting the hotel stays for people who have not been in this country for more than a year to ensure that migrants are not shipped, as Lori Lightfoot wanted to do, shipped from Chicago to the suburbs, because this has been part of the conversation too. And, of course, there's been money attached. We had the big fight in Joliet Township that Pritzker and Brandon Johnson and the politicians, hey, we're a sanctuary state, not a sanctuary city. This is everybody's problem. Chicago shouldn't bear the burden of this. Shouldn't bear the brunt of this burden. Burden is the term that BLM Brandon used. And so some suburban communities are actually paying attention, and their antennae are up, and they're taking action to try to prevent what always happens in big cities and big metropolitan regions. The big cities try to socialize their problems, their burdens, to the suburbs, and some suburban communities are taking action, which is interesting to note.
Yep, Elk Grove, Schaumburg, Rosemont. It's a $1,000 a month tax if they stay longer than 60 days, and they voted unanimously in all three of those towns. So,
Kevin in Austin, Texas.
Hey guys. Good morning. So, I just want to. I grew up in Oak Park, and I live in Texas now, as you guys know, just outside of Austin. And Abbott is this conservative on this issue because of the pressure of conservatives, and it also is advantageous for him to get more Republicans on the border. I think Abbott sending people up to Chicago is fantastic, because now Chicago is a border state, or Illinois is a border state as well. And I think using that idea is, and then listening to what you were talking about this morning as far as the black community, as I talked about, getting upset and wanting to be Republican, it's advantageous for Republicans in Illinois to go out and try to cultivate that. I know it's not, it's not going to change overnight, but at least there's some rays of sunshine and things change. And it only happens when people who are locally involved start rattling the cage. Because I don't think, quite honestly, Abbott would be as conservative as he is if the conservative part of the Republicans in Texas didn't push him that way.
Thanks for the call, Kevin. Tom Barrington.
Hey, good morning, crew. Can somebody just ask Pritzker and Newsom and these other guys, what about the first 6 million people that were trafficked? DeSantis and Abbott, I believe, started shipping these people out in the early part of 23. What about the first 6 million that were flying in at 3 a.m. at O'Hare and every other major airport and minor airport? Thanks, guys. Have a great day.
Thanks, Tom. Mary Kay, Western Springs.
Hi, I'm going to change my original point to even talking about shipping out the migrants to the suburbs. There's this building on Ogden that is, it was where the guy from LaGrange had kind of a cult thing where he trained people like the Duggar type people. It's a beautiful building, and it's empty. So, and it's in DuPage County. So, I think it'd be great if those DuPage people could pressure their people to buy that building and get them housed there. It's beautiful. It's all brick. Switch it out, house it, change it to condos or something. Buy it. They have so much money. Why not just buy it? And don't you think that's a good idea?
Well, thanks for the call, Mary Kay. Oh, I get it. We've talked about this before. All these suburban communities that bought into Sanctuary State and this welcoming propaganda, absolutely give them a chance to live their values. One at Hinsdale, River Forest, Oak Park. Yeah. And not just that church in Oak Park. Open your homes, Oak Park, Birkenstockers.
Well, speaking of that, several hundred migrants are going to be housed at the former St. Bartholomew School and Parish. It's on the northwest side, so they're sending that place is going to be repurposed to help migrants or illegals.
Mark, man on the street.
Hey, it's Mark Watermiller, man on the street. Some good news and bad news. The Amundsen Park that was closed for 2 months and they kicked the kids out is going to reopen today to citizens. So that's some good news. But the bad news, and you reported on it the other day, Mike Ditka's restaurant and the Tremont Hotel on Michigan and Chestnut is going to become a migrant center. So there's all kinds of stuff.
Wait, I thought that was for the homeless.
Homeless right now. It was migrants. Now now they're doing homeless. You got to keep up. They're moving different puzzle pieces around. Some are homeless shelters, some are migrant shelters. But, it's all part of the Gimme Dad empire. Thanks for the call, Mark. Dan and Amy, Chicago's Morning Answer.
There's only one radio show in Chicago talking about today's biggest stories and telling you what they really mean. That show is this one, Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-355-4107 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-355-4107. That's 800-355-4107. What do you have to lose? Call 800-355-4107. Again, 800-355-4107.
All right, 'tis the season for giving, and once again, we here at AM 560 have partnered up with Food for the Poor. They're a wonderful organization, faith-based, nonprofit relief organization. They work directly with their partners on the ground in Latin America and the Caribbean to operate feeding centers. I mean, can you imagine waking up and deciding, gosh, which child am I going to feed today? Where are we going to go and get food? Well, these people in these third world countries walk miles every day, because I've seen it, to get a bucket of rice or beans and then walk miles back to give that food to their children, because if they don't have food or a meal, it'll lead to sickness, disease, and ultimately starvation. So what we're asking for is a one-time donation of $80. With that, you could feed 2 children for 1 year. And for a gift of $320, you could feed 8 children for 1 year. And if you've got a family of 4, if you go to the grocery store, that's going to be about $300. So this one-time donation of $320 will feed 8 children for the entire year, not just a week, but the year. So we're asking you to help out. 844-862-4673, 844-862-4673, or visit 560theanswer.com/foodforthepoor.
Well, we've also got our business benefactor program this year in conjunction with the campaign, and we've got a bunch of businesses who've signed up already. We appreciate their support. Chris Jacobs with Century 21 Circle in Inverness, Opinion Health Solutions, Waukegan Roofing, Brusher Machining, and many others. To join them, you make a tax-deductible gift of $2,500 to Food for the Poor, and we here at AM 560 will give you, your business, 41-minute commercials to air on our airwaves Monday through Friday, prime broadcasting hours, 5 a.m. to 8 p.m. That's the best deal in all of Chicago radio for marketing, and at the same time, you'll be providing life-saving food for more than 65 children in Haiti for a year. So to join the Business Benefactor Program, you just call our general sales manager. Her name is Ann Jeanette. Her number is 842-472-8951. Again, Ann Jeanette on the Business Benefactor Program, and give her a call at 847-472-8951.
Hi, everybody. I'm Kathy Lee Gifford, and I've been around a long time. Every one of us, as we age, realizes that things are changing in our bodies, in the world around us. Lots of times I don't like what's happening, so what can I do about it? Well, the one thing we can do is pray, right? The other thing we can do is take better care of ourselves. I do that by taking Balance of Nature because I'm not really good at nutrition. I'm too busy, I'm on the run, and I don't eat enough vegetables, and I certainly don't eat enough fruit. And when I take Balance of Nature, I can feel good that I've done something for myself that I can actually control. So take control. Get Balance of Nature.
Celebrate Christmas with us. Go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer to get 35% off your first order, plus a free fiber and spice supplement. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this exclusive holiday offer by using discount code KLG.
Homeowners, are you feeling the weight of credit card debt and high mortgage insurance payments? There's great news for you. Home values have increased, and it's time to leverage that to your advantage. Welcome to the Home Value Refinance Solution from Townstone Financial. Your home's increasing value presents an incredible opportunity. With Townstone's Home Value Refinancing Solution, you can use this newfound equity to consolidate high-interest credit card debt and say goodbye to burdensome mortgage insurance payments. Imagine freeing yourself from financial stress. Townstone's experienced team will help you navigate the refinancing process, unlocking the potential in your increased home value. Seize this opportunity. Use the extra equity to reinvest in your home, take that long-awaited vacation, or simply build your savings for the future. Don't let this chance slip away. Call Townstone today at 312-896-2110 or go to townstone.com to explore how your increased home value can transform your financial future. Townstone Financial is an Indiana, Michigan, Wisconsin, Florida, Illinois mortgage licensee 6629 MLS 136639, Equal Housing Lender.
Hi, this is Randy Donnelly from Donnelly Auctions in Union, Illinois, here to tell you about our upcoming gun and ammo auction on Saturday and Sunday, December 16th and 17th. All guns sell on Saturday, December 16th. You can view them all online now at DonnellyAuctions.com or at our auction house in Union on Friday, December 15th. Sunday, December 17th features thousands of rounds of ammunition of all calibers, as well as reloading equipment and a selection of fishing and hunting gear. This is a live auction that you can attend in person or bid online from the comfort of your home. State and federal gun laws apply. Donnelly Auctions is a federal licensed firearms dealer, so you can always be assured that buying or selling at Donnelly's is safe, legal, and confidential. We're located just 45 minutes northwest of O'Hare Airport, just off I-90. Go to DonnellyAuctions.com for full details. That's DonnellyAuctions.com. I'm Randy Donnelly, and I'll see you at the auction on December 16th and 17th.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Bidenomics is synonymous with economic illiteracy. We'll start there with the Federalist Joy Pullman at 8:38.
But now let's head straight into that newsroom. Here is Mike Scott.
8:32 on AM 560, The Answer. More clouds than sun, and it will be that way most of the day. And we're headed toward rain and snow overnight. An Israeli military official says his country's military has had to do what it's supposed to do against Hamas, and that it is unprecedented in world history.
Any other country, including the United States, I don't know if you ever faced a situation like this, would take such great care. So we agree with the United States that we want to do everything we can to reduce civilian casualties and to ramp up humanitarian assistance, and we'll continue to do that as we prosecute this war.
Speaking on ABC's This Week, Israeli Minister of Strategic Affairs Ron Dermer. Government health bureaucrats say the U.S. should experience a more typical flu and virus season.
We're probably looking at a more typical winter pathogen season than what we've seen in past years.
That's on CBS's Face the Nation, and Dr. Scott Gottlieb, the former FDA commissioner, saying the level of RSV and flu cases is now trending down. Alaska Airlines is set to acquire Hawaiian Airlines. It's a $1.9 billion deal. If federal regulators give the okay, the headquarters will be located in Seattle, with Honolulu their key hub. Powerball and Mega Millions jackpots reaching a combined $780 million. Powerball drawing tonight, $412 million alone. Chicago police are investigating a blaze. Fire breaking out at the historic Swift Mansion in Bronzeville. Fire Captain John Giordano.
A lot of fire up in the attic, so there was extensive salvage and overhaul. It escalated, there was still in box alarm. So we had approximately 55 fire personnel on scene with EMS.
The historic home was built in 1892 and added to the National Register of Historic Places in 1978. 2 young children among 4 badly hurt following a crash involving a police vehicle on Chicago's South Side last night. Detectives are investigating after a man was beaten and stabbed in the River North neighborhood yesterday in the 400 block of North Clark. And a Des Plaines man is accused of threatening a DeKalb County judge. Jesse Christian is charged with disorderly conduct and harassment by telephone charges. Blackhawks lost to the Wild 4-1. The Bulls, a weekend win over New Orleans, 124-118. Bears begin week-long preps for the Lions at Soldier Field on Sunday. And Northwestern basketball has done it again, dropping number 1 Purdue over the weekend, 92-88. It was an overtime win at Welsh Ryan Arena. The news, a service of Macy's Backstage. How about that perfect holiday gift? Just $25 and under, like matching PJs for the family, fragrance sets, and more. Find the latest trends, new arrivals, and great prices at a Macy's Backstage store near you. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Dr. Sebastian Gorka sees a country lost.
The people who want business as usual want us to remain indebted, because I guess 33 trillion isn't enough. The managed decline of America, who have surrendered their belief in the United States to the idea that, well, we're the problem.
America First with Dr. Sebastian Gorka. Afternoons at 3, right before Sean Thompson at 4 on AM 560. The Answer.
Patrick was way behind on his IRS taxes.
I was in way over my head. The total amount ended up being somewhere just over $30,000. $30,000.
Then the IRS came to collect.
Started getting letter after letter. A lien had been filed against me. They were going to basically hang me completely out to dry.
He had to do something.
That's when I reached out to Optima Tax Relief.
Patrick's life quickly got a lot easier.
It was very easy, pretty much hands off. They picked up the ball and ran with it.
And how'd it go?
I couldn't believe it. I had to ask 2 or 3 times. I saved an incredible amount of money.
How does Patrick feel about Optima?
Couldn't be happier. They definitely helped me. Optima Tax Relief, the best place to call. They're the best in the business.
Do what Patrick did and call Optima Tax Relief for a free consultation. Call 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433.
Optima Tax Relief.
Testimonial from an actual client. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
I've been taking Balance of Nature for several years, and I feel the energy level of 27. I endorse it, I believe in it, and I would recommend it.
My name is Barbara, and I'm a registered nurse, and I take Balance of Nature. I really love gardening. I love being outdoors, and I love watching things grow. Gardening is just kind of an extension of enjoying nature. You get the sunlight, you get the breeze, you listen to the birds. It's the whole thing. I believe in Balance of Nature, and I really love it.
Celebrate Christmas with us. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer to get 35% off your first order plus a free fiber and spice supplement with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. Go to balanceofnature.com and get this exclusive holiday offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Papa Nicholas Coffee. Papa Nicholas Coffee, a family tradition since 1897. Online at papanicholas.com.
It is 8:38. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time starts on the inbound Edens, where right now 28 minutes inbound from Lake Cook Road into the junction. The Kennedy right now is an hour 20 from O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. 46 on the inbound I commute, 390 to the old post office. Stevenson 31 in from 355 into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. That's actually a really nice commute for this time of day. An accident on the outbound Stevenson between DuSable Lakeshore Drive and State, really slowing things up this morning. Also, a stalled CTA bus on DuSable Lakeshore Drive. A right lane is blocked southbound between Irving Park and Fullerton Parkway. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Today, clouds with some breaks of sunshine, high of 40. Cloudy with rain or snow early on, then mostly snow into the overnight hours, a low of 32. Currently 33 at O'Hare. Your next news update at 9. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560 The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Even the normally straight-laced reporters for Bloomberg couldn't keep from guffawing at the Biden tweet over the weekend about inflation. Take a listen. This is Jonathan Farrow.
The president out with a tweet yesterday. I have no idea who actually wrote this tweet, but it's got the president's name on it, so we should probably read it. This is what he says. Let me be clear to any corporation that hasn't brought their prices back down, even as inflation has come down. It's time to stop the price gouging. Give American consumers a break. Chorus on Wall Street, led by Jim Bianco. Apparently, he does not know the difference between prices rising at a slower pace and prices falling.
Apparently, he doesn't.
No, he doesn't.
Prices are increasing more slowly, so you should cut prices. Right. And also, not to mention, the idea that the President of the United States should be issuing some nationwide directive to businesses big and small alike about their prices without any knowledge of the cost structure they face or any concern, actually. It's really a remarkable moment, and it just, again, illustrates that Bidenomics is synonymous with economic illiteracy. Joy Pullman joins us. She's the executive editor of The Federalist, Federalist.com. Joy, thanks for being with us. Appreciate it.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
I noticed there's no call for censorship from the social media platforms of Biden's misinformation. And frankly, I wouldn't want it. I want his misinformation out there so we can discuss it. Maybe that's a lesson, too.
That's a great point. I mean, the whole truth about the misinformation and disinformation mantra that we're being treated with lately, really what it means is clearing the way for the only messaging for people to hear to be the messaging of Democrats. And look, everyone's aware that politicians lie. Politicians on both sides and all sides, they're always a bunch of liars. But what that means is what we really need to have is the historic American public square for people to have their ideas competing, and people can hear both sides and perspectives of a view, and they can assess, who has the better argument and the better facts. And so I think really the censorship is an admission that, the people on the left really have no valid ideas, such as we're talking about in economics. We know inflation, it's been proved by Nobel Prize winning economists to be caused by government spending more than they can take in taxes. Inflation, if you're mad about inflation, you should be mad at the government spending and spending and spending and spending, because then what it is forced to do in order to avoid economy tanking deficits is to inflate the money supply, and that, causes all the price increases we've seen over the past couple of years.
Wait, what price increases?
There's people from hearing information like that. Go ahead.
Yeah, there's no price increases. I mean, you do not believe your lying eyes at the at the grocery store checkout. Prices are declining, so you need to take a store manager aside and tell them to cut the price of foodstuffs.
I mean, if you talk to anybody who runs any business, small, medium, big, you know that they cannot hire people for anything, right? So their ability to provide things to people is dependent on them having workers at an affordable price for them to put products on the shelves. But there's another hand of government there too, because government, basically is making it possible for people to get, have food and housing and everything else that they need without working for it. So that's the stated policy, of Democrats. They are trying to cut all the work requirements out of every single means-tested welfare program in the country, and they've been successful since Obama at doing that. So, that's another aspect of where we have a completely sluggish economy, to put it in the nicest way. Part of that is due to Americans not wanting to work because so many people don't have to.
Well, what
right.
about? Biden's not using Bidenomics anymore when he goes on these campaign trips, and he's also no one's buying any Build Back Better hats or T-shirts, so he's abandoned that.
Well, the Biden administration, the White House really thought that they could do that thing of spinning around a negative term into a positive, but it didn't work for them. They even did poll groups that found that using the Bidenomics phrase really turned people off because, look, as I pointed out in my article, Americans, there's a lot of things that Americans are not allowed to know because of the censorship you referenced in our opening. But Americans can, every single time they go to the gas pump, every single time they look at their credit card bill, every time they look at their energy bill, they're at the grocery store. We all know that just 2 years ago, prices were, much, much lower than we're facing now. I've been grocery shopping for my family for 20 years. I have all of the prices of my basic staples memorized. I have, this is a good, sale price, buy an extra one. That's been memorized, and it's just in my mental routine for years. Looking at that, just from 2 years ago, my grocery staples prices have increased 25 to 50 to 75% off of all of those prices I've memorized. And normal Americans, they're seeing the same thing. So when you say Bidenomics to them, they think, wow, okay, so let's attach Biden's name to what I'm seeing and the inaffordability of everything right now, and it doesn't go well for the White House.
Well, right. They become punchlines. These taglines, these things they desire to be taglines become punchlines. Just like when you go to the gas pump, you still see some "I did that" stickers there, which is jeering at the president, not supporting him. Build Back Better, Bidenomics. These all become rhetorical albatrosses.
And I think if Democrats were more open to actually listening to voters and the American public, then they would be actually making some changes to their policies right now, because obviously their program does not work. It is so obviously completely ineffective. But instead of triangulation like Bill Clinton did all of those years ago, instead of saying, wow, we're listening to what you're saying because we feel like we have to earn your vote, and making some legitimate changes that people can feel and see, and so voters can tell that there's a difference. Instead, Democrats feel like they do not have to listen to the electorate anymore. They feel like there's certain groups of people who will always vote for them that they think are a majority of voters, so they can do anything they want, and they're always going to be in power. And so that unchecked, the lack of checks and restraints on their economic program really puts us in a dangerous situation, because even if the voters do not consent to, do not like the policies that are governing their lives, they cannot change them, Democrats think. And that puts the country in a really dangerous situation.
You wrote about something with respect to transing your business. We were talking a little bit earlier in the program about the effort afoot by the Department of Agriculture to not provide school lunches to any K through 12 school systems that don't support the gender ideology of the regime. Well, that's also bleeding into federal grants for businesses. I assume things like small business administration loans as well. This is where they're really tying the purse strings to compliance with gender ideology.
Right. So I'm actually writing a book out about this that's going to be out this coming June with Regnery Press. And so, but with the Biden administration, when it came into office, they were essentially handed a wish list from the activist group called the Human Rights Campaign. So that's a rabidly extremist sexual propaganda outfit headquartered in Washington, D.C. And they basically said, here's what we want from the Biden administration. They put a wish list of about 100 things, basically to enforce transgender ideology through every single aspect of federal power. So we've been seeing that the Biden administration has been following that like it's that private organizations' demands, like it's a playbook for the administration. So we've come to the part in the administration where what they did now, to continue following that blueprint, is to require that every single federal grant would follow, people who, if you want to get a federal grant, you have to trans your bathrooms, let people cross-dress at work, put men in with little girls in their private rooms, and all the rest of it, if you want to apply for a federal grant. So that's a proposal the Biden administration just submitted to the Federal Register. And I think today is, if I'm correct, I think today is the deadline for comments on that to the government. But basically what that's doing is the federal government has immense power. Federal grants and contracts are actually they employ more people than the federal government does itself. It's a huge portion of the economy. So what we see is that these transgender activists basically want to use the immense power of the federal government to herd the entire country into their extremist ideology that puts women and children at risk. And not only does it do that, it's just a blatant defiance of reality. Men are not women. Men and women cannot become each other, and that's never going to change no matter how many surgeries they take to mutilate themselves. So this is a really, communist kind of way of telling everyone that if you do not falsify reality and lie to everyone about the basic reality that men and women are different, then you're not allowed to participate equally in economic exchange and in getting your own tax dollars back to you from federal grants.
And just to put a face on the Human Rights Campaign for people who may have forgotten, we got Sam Britton from the Human Rights Campaign. He was in the leadership there, the man identifying as a woman who was in charge of our nuclear waste program until he couldn't stop stealing ladies' luggage at airports.
Yeah, that was a very exciting incident. Yeah. The funny thing about that,
talent,
probably not funny, but
fetish.
It took the federal government a number of weeks in order, weeks and weeks of pressure and bad press from having this fellow under their employ before they actually put him on administrative leave. It's, by the way, almost impossible to fire a federal employee.
Right. But I guess enough times on video stealing other people's luggage at the carousels, and even the Biden administration has to act. But yeah, no, it's top flight talent there. Not a clown show at all. Joy Pullman, executive editor of The Federalist, thefederalist.com. Joy, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. And she joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
This is The Morning Show. More Chicago radio listeners are choosing. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Hi, everybody. I'm Kathy Lee Gifford, and I've been blessed to have a wonderful career for a lot of years. People still come up to me all the time, and they go, "How are you, Kathy Lee? How's your va-va-voom?" And I laugh with them, and I tell them, still going strong, still taking my balance of nature every day, and telling all my friends and loved ones to do the same. Because it's balance of nature, changing the world, one life at a time.
Start your journey to better health with Balance of Nature. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com to get 35% off your first preferred order with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. That's 1-800-246-8751. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code KLG.
Cold floors. The problem is probably in the basement or crawl space. Permaseal can now help make your basement and crawl space warmer and therefore your upstairs more comfortable with their new product, Permafoam Insulation. Permaseal can spray this insulating foam between your floor joists, which will not only increase your energy efficiency, but will also stop insects, rodents. It's mold and mildew resistant. Rim joist spray foam can be installed in just one day, and it's twice as effective as the old-fashioned fiberglass bats. For over 40 years, Close to 500,000 homeowners across Chicagoland and Northwest Indiana have trusted Permaseal to make their home healthier and more valuable. Save money and be more comfortable. Call Permaseal today to schedule a free evaluation. 800-421-SEAL or visit permaseal.net. Permaseal, known best for being better.
Right now is a really good time to get your student loans under control. There are so many people that we talk to every day who tell us that they just feel so much anxiety and overwhelmed by their student loans. But once they pick up that phone and call us and we're able to give them a plan and a strategy that may lower their payment by hundreds of dollars, sometimes thousands of dollars, and may actually get their loans forgiven. The point is just to give people some clarity and control over their situation so that they know that whatever the payment is, whatever the plan is, there actually is a plan, and that plan is going to save them the most amount of money. I'm Ray Kaplan, and I can help you get debt-free, stress-free. Give us a call at 312-294-8989 or visit us at financialrelief.com.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. They're a bank with roots right here in Chicago, and their decisions are made locally too. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Hi, I'm Mick O'Rourke, President and CEO of Signature Bank. We'd like to wish you happy holidays from our Signature Bank family to your family.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Let Signature Bank turn your business vision into reality this holiday season. Visit signaturebank.bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender. Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. You have a true partnership with a team that is invested in your success. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
I'm Kevin Bastuga, co-founder of Signature Bank. There's no better place to be for the holidays than Chicago. Signature Bank is wishing you a safe, healthy, and happy holiday season.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Let Signature Bank turn your business vision into reality this holiday season. Visit signaturebank.bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender. Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson here, and if you're a small business owner or you make the marketing or advertising decisions for a business, then this message is for you.
Our annual Food for the Poor campaign is underway, and this year we're helping to raise money for children and their families in Latin America and the Caribbean who are desperate for access to food.
Millions of people, including many children, are suffering during this season of economic decline, unemployment, and rising food prices.
Here's how you and your business can be part of the solution. Become a Food for the Poor business benefactor. Just make a $2,500 tax-deductible donation to Food for the Poor, and AM 560 will give you 40 one-minute commercials to air here on AM 560 The Answer between 5 a.m. and 8 p.m. Monday through Friday at no additional cost to you.
It's the best deal in all of Chicago radio.
Just call Anjanette Natowski at 847-472-8951. Again, that's 847-472-8951, or go to 560theanswer.com/food for the poor.
In the heart of Bedford Falls, one man faced incredible challenges in his business journey. George Bailey, a humble banker, knew that success often comes hand in hand with adversity. But George wasn't alone in his struggle. He discovered the power of resilience, innovation, friends, and community. Like George, your business may face obstacles, financial setbacks, fierce competition, IT nightmares, or unforeseen crises. But remember, it's not about the challenges you face. It's about how you overcome them. At Turnkey, we understand the George Bailey spirit. We're here to provide you with the solutions, guidance, and support you need to conquer your business and IT challenges. Whether you're a small-town bank, distributor, manufacturer, or a cutting-edge startup, we believe that every business has the potential to thrive. Together, we'll build a bridge to your success, just like George Bailey did in Bedford Falls. Join us at Turnkey. Let's write your own It's a Wonderful Business Life. Because like George, your dreams are worth it. Start a conversation today by visiting turnkey.pro. That's turnkey.pro.
Homeowners experiencing low water pressure, rusty yellow water, little to no hot water, or pressure so low that showering is difficult?
Honey, don't flush. I'm in the shower.
These are all symptoms of clogged and corroded galvanized water pipes that are filled with gunk older than you. You should see it. It's disgusting. You drink it, brush your teeth with it, and bathe in it. Yuck. For your family's sake, repipe your home with quality PEX or copper pipes from All Affordable Plumbing. We're your local, family-owned and operated repiping expert. We can repipe your home in 1 to 3 days with minimal disturbance, and we include a lifetime guarantee. And for a limited time, we're offering 12-month no-interest, no-payment financing and a free water heater. So if you have low water pressure, call for a free in-home estimate at 800-NEW-PIPE or visit allaffordable.org. That's 800-NEW-PIPE or visit allaffordable.org. If you have low water pressure, a copper repipe will get you flowing again. Call for a free estimate at 800-NEW-PIPE. That's 800-NEW-PIPE.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, Dan, anything else you want to say?
I've said all I have to say for today.
Anything to add, Deputy? That's my line from the movie.
Oh, no, it's right. It's right there with Get Busy Living or Get Busy Dying, one of the great lines in movie history.
All right. Thanks to Justin Kosick, our technical producer, and Quinn McCarthy, our executive producer. We are here bright and early, 5 a.m. tomorrow morning. Have yourselves a wonderful day. Now let's jump into that newsroom. Catch up once again with Mike Scott. Good morning, Mike.
There's an arson investigation underway after a fire at the historic Swift Mansion in Chicago. Construction continues at the Brighton Park migrant tent camp. A man shot and killed by police in Elk Grove Village.